So uncivilized.
I love it. I love it. I mean, you just can't. I love it. I love that intro. It's just amazing. Man. It's like every time you hear it, it's just, wow. Star Wars. Anyway, man, thanks everybody for being here. What an incredible time. This is Uncivilized Scoundrels. As always, every Thursday, we are now covering, we're in the thick of things. It is the final episode, the final episode of the first season of Obi-Wan. I say the first season because I'm having high hopes that there will be a second season. But yes, this ended off very lovely in my opinion. So hype about it, but it's going to be interesting to hear what everybody else has to say. So glad to have you guys here tonight. Remember, safe zone. We can have this discussion, the spoiler talk. All opinions are welcome opinions as long as it's not toxic. I want to say something right off the top real quick because I got a message from an individual. He doesn't want me to mention his name. And what he said was that he had a discussion about Star Wars. He loves Star Wars. It's, basically he eats, sleeps, he lives Star Wars. He loved, and in his opinion, he loved this season of Obi-Wan from beginning till end. He said that he actually got into a group and he had this discussion. He put up a post about it and he said he got slammed. He said he got like literally slammed. I mean, to the point that it was verbally abusive. He felt bullied, and it doesn't help at the simple fact that he deals with depression. So he said his depression kicked in. He got out of the group and he completely canceled his Facebook account. He kept his Instagram account, but that's only to kind of dip in every so often. So, watching, different shows and coming in different groups, it's kind of relief for him. But he said he actually hit a dark place to the point where he was even skeptical about even watching yesterday's episode. I told him to go ahead and watch it. I said, you need to kind of just dive in. Don't worry about it. Say all like this is to basically say, look, we know that these type of discussions and having this discussion about Star Wars has become extreme, especially Obi-Wan. This has been a bit more toxic way more toxic than Book of Boba. And why should it? It's Star Wars content. Not if I wanted to go see a Martin Scorsese film, I'd go see a Martin Scorsese film and give it an A+ performance, even though we know some of those films aren't always the greatest. But this is Star Wars. And the way these stories are written, it's entertainment. It's a space opera. George Lucas wrote it for entertainment. Where it's actually going as of late, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Anytime that, our opinions affect the person's livelihood and their state of being, with mental health being a huge thing, I mean, I kind of question that. I hope that everybody can just, really keep it peaceful. At the same time, man, look, everybody's entitled to your opinions, but when it starts to get, if it goes to the left and it just, come on, man, like, let's just bring it back in and remember that people, are human. We're humans. We deal with certain things, and sometimes stuff like this is our escape. So I just wanted to say to you, brother, and I'm not going to put yourself, but I just wanted to speak on it. Like, I'm rooting for you. You always have a place here on Uncivilized Scoundrels. You have a place here, on the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube channel, any channel that actually welcomes positive energy. So I just wanted to put out there and let you know we rooting for you, bro. Again, let's just be positive as we can. Even if it's a difference of opinion, we can still be positive about it. We can agree to disagree and still shake hands and just love each other and love on each other at the end of the day. So let's just keep it real. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here. I want to introduce the actual group, the panel that I have. It's an incredible panel as always. I wouldn't be what it is without them. Also with, you're bound to see CC flex. It happens every show. So you're bound to see it happen again tonight. No different. It just happens. Now she has somebody on here that's going to match her flex in a sense, because we got Usby on the show as well. So it's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be a crazy show. But I think CC has a tendency to outflex people. If she doesn't, she tries to be modest about it. But I know what it is. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here, man. What's going on? How's everybody going? How's everybody's day? Use me. Let me see the hat, bro. Let me see that. Let me see that hat, man. That looks incredible. Vader. That's what I'm talking about, bro. All day, every day. I love that, man. I definitely love that, bro. That's an incredible man. Yeah, this is what it is, man. Thank you for being here, bro. What's up with you, brother? How you doing, man? I'm so glad you actually wanted to be here.
Good. I know 2 days in a row. Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to talk about this. It's I watched a little bit more of it again today, and yes, I'm ready to talk about this. Can't wait.
Yeah, let's go ahead, man. I'm so happy to talk about this. Next up, you know who it is. We got in the building. How are you?
I'm well. It's always wonderful to be here on a Thursday talking Star Wars.
So glad to have you here. How was your day? We talked about slightly how your day was. We did talk about certain things behind the scene, but we're going to get into that once we get on the show. But how was your day besides that?
Besides that, it's been wonderful, and I'm just excited to talk about this show.
Definitely. So glad to have you here. It's going to be a great discussion. I cannot wait. Next up, we have Mrs. Flex herself, CC3PO is in the building. How are you? CC's flexing already. Look behind her.
I'm good. I don't have anything to flex, I think, this week. So I hate to disappoint. I don't think
really?
I've got anything.
Bullshit. 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 Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I am excited to talk about the end of the series because I think it ended on like a huge high note. Also, I won't be able to like share anything about it for the next like quite a while, but I am involved in a Obi-Wan Kenobi series art print commission. So I think it's going to be limited to like
you don't have to
40 or 50 art prints, and we have no idea what it's going to look like till it's done. So that's kind of.
So we just got to kind of wait and see.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty exciting. Okay. But yeah, happy to. God, this episode had a lot going on, so really thrilled to be here talking about it.
Yes. It's going to be fully entertaining. I loved it. I loved it myself. So anyway, CC, thank you for being here. We will see a flex, but thank you for being here. Mario, what's going on with you, brother? How you doing, man?
Bro, it is hotter than the freaking depths of Vader's butt crack sitting on the throne on Mustafar out here, bro. Yeah, man. I mean, other than that, I'm half asleep, man. But you know what? I'm happy to be here on Uncivilized, man, just to talk about this Obi-Wan show, man. So let's go. Let's get it moving.
Hotter than Vader's butt cheeks. That is a new one.
That's hot,
Mustafar.
bro. After sitting on the throne
That's
on Mustafar,
really
bro.
hot. It has Vader with butt cheeks wearing leather pants on Mustafar, bro.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah, man.
Thick layer too, but you know he probably couldn't feel it. You already know what it is. But anyway, man, so glad to have everybody here. It's going to be an incredible show. Do want to address the chat real quick. We got Tully. He said, "What's up, Benny Butt Cheeks?" Yes, I'm still in the building, bro. That name ain't going nowhere no time soon. BBC is in the building. We got Feezy Figures. Amir is in the building. We got the Thor, my guy, in the building. We got Nathan Henderson here. We got William Owens in the building. Shiny, AJ Agrusa, Tobar. My man Keith is in the building. Thank you for being here, man. We got Renz Talentino. We got Filthy Yoda in the building. We got Mary Sullivan here. She said uncivilized time. You know what it is. We got here Pedro Lopez is in the building. Two Ferns. Cam's Collection. My guy, my cousin Cam is in the building. Let's see who else we got here. And we got is out there as well. So yeah, you gotta say it like 3 times. I don't know why I say it 3 times. It doesn't make sense when I started doing it, and I just didn't stop. So it's just like you got
like the Candyman, dude. You gotta say it 3 times just to make it appear, right?
You know what it is? It's because you say it 3 times just in case one of those times you get it wrong. You want to prove to people that you can do it. So say it 3 times, it makes sense. So that's why I do it. You know what I mean? Rolling the tongue is just like, you know, it is what it is.
Oh man, you gotta come harder on the tongue roll though, bro.
No, man. Come on, man.
You know, you gotta come with it. Bring that spice.
We know. Anyway, thank you, Daryl Smith Jr. is in the building too. Thank you guys for basically being here. But anyway, let's get to it. We know what we want to talk about this final episode. Once we round out this episode, I'm just going to ask everybody what they felt about the entire season as a whole. Highs and lows, whatever they thought. But yeah, we'll get into that in just a minute. But again, incredible episode. But when we jump into this episode, the first thing that we actually see, of course, is Reva on Tatooine. She's basically just got to Tatooine. see, we see a scene basically with I think it's a merchant. He's actually giving away, like I said, drinks of water. We have one guy who walks up and smacks it out, or he just pushes another person out of the way because he wants it. Reva comes in, kind of force pushes that guy out the way because she wants to know about Uncle Owen. So she asked the merchant about it. They're having that conversation. You can see that visibly. She's, still in pain. But what I loved about seeing her this way is I love that cloak. I love the cloak in a way. I think a cloak for any character just takes them from here to here. But we get a chance to actually see that. Again, after this particular scene, we then see Vader, or we get a chance to see Vader himself. Which, look at that, bro. Look at that. We talking about
I don't want that helmet.
That helmet. We get a chance to see Vader on the Devastator itself. Finally, his ship, which is incredible. He's standing there. Basically, they're in hot pursuit of the Rebel Alliance, or basically the stowaways. Chasing, of course, Obi-Wan, which then garnishes Obi-Wan at that point to make a decision. But anyway, before we get to that point, opening scene that we actually see Reva, asking the merchant. She's mainly looking for, Obi-Wan. Not Obi-Wan, but she's trying to find Owen because, again, at this point, she knows that, Vader has a son, and he has, and so basically now that's a form of revenge for her towards the younglings that were actually taken. Is this vindication? So she feels as though if she kills one, especially his son, that's revenge. I'm gonna start with you. What did you think about this opening scene?
Well, the first thing that I noticed, or at least what I think is correct, is that she's wearing this cloak, as you already mentioned, Lael. But if you notice that the color of the cloak is brown, and it's almost implying to me anyway, she could wear a black cloak, but she decided to wear a brown cloak. And that almost implies, at least to me, that, she's not necessarily as much of a dark force user anymore. Or, I'm not even quite sure whether she's aware of it or what's going on, but, I would imagine she'd choose a black cloak to match her black outfit, and look equally cool, with it. But it's brown. And I almost wondered if that was an indication that something had changed in her. She's kind of going to Tatooine. And to be honest with you, in this episode, I think that I'm not quite sure what her motivation is, but I almost feel like she's doing this more out of curiosity than anything else. And, she hasn't forgotten what happened to her in the temple, but I do think that maybe perhaps she's forgotten, what it's like to be a child. And I think that when her original intention to go down to the surface with this intention, whatever it was, that once she saw him, she completely, after a while, she was like, this is just a child. And I don't want to do this anymore. But I think that her desire and what she'd been doing all along was something that may not have really been in her heart. And so she's there and she's struggling, and, I don't know how she's doing it, but she's there on Tatooine. And of course she would have no problem finding Owen that way. But they made a point of letting us know that somebody would warn him. So that was interesting too. So I think that cloak, even though it doesn't appear that she may have decided not to maybe be a dark side person anymore. I think she has kind of decided that, because that would have been a big scoop, right? To tell somebody about this child, knowing who the child might be, or that this child was important. The first thing you would have done would have been to call, Darth Vader and tell him, but she chose not to. So there's a little bit more to it than meets the eye for her, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, definitely. And you know what? There's definitely in this episode, there's a lot of foreshadowing everywhere. Like, it's a lot of foreshadowing. Again, with that cloak, because it takes me back. I'm gonna go to you next, Usby. It takes me back to like when we saw Revenge or Return of the Jedi. Luke was wearing, the more dark configuration, but the cloak that he had on was brown. It was a brown cloak. and also saying that there was a teeter between the light and the dark, so that it was just like you're going between both, and you're like kind of tempted by those things. We're here with that brown cloak, like you said. It does like a lot of foreshadowing that, look, she is leaning, there's still a remnants of the light there, and we know that eventually that's what she and which it's a Star Wars, man, and I know a lot of people don't like the same trope. I welcome the trope. I wanted to basically see her lean more towards the light. I want to know more about her story. And the thing is, if they would have gave us a more fleshed out version of, we would have kind of gotten there. But again, for what we got, I enjoyed it. But usually, what you think about this opening scene, man?
I thought it was good. The only thing I guess that I was confused on was it seemed like she, at the end of the previous episode, she and Obi-Wan were almost working together, right? You're not working together, but at least they were an understanding, and you can kind of see hints of that. But then when she got her ass whipped by Vader, I don't know if she was coming here to kill Luke to get revenge on Obi-Wan, or if she's coming there to get revenge on Darth Vader by killing his son. So I was a little bit confused by her motivation, I guess.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I thought I didn't even pick up on the brown cloak. I thought that was definitely a cool nod. So
yeah,
I like the opening scene. I liked her doing the tracking again. I think kind of towards the end, I wish they would have fleshed out her motivations a little bit more. But I think that's just again, this more goes to like an overarching thing of these short seasons. You really got to pack a lot into them. So this would have benefited maybe from an episode more or two to really flesh out her character more. But I guess they're saving that for the the spinoff. So as far as the opening scenes go, I thought it was cool. I like the sort of world building that they're doing in Tatooine with all the different it's a bustling city or whatever, and seeing her in it, and seeing the sort of not necessarily the grandiose entrance that she had the first time she was there, but seeing like people react to her and all that stuff was pretty intense. So good way to kick off the episode for sure. And what a great episode it was.
Definitely, man, definitely. Mario, you see this open episode, and we see that again, we already knew where she was going, where she was heading, which was Tatooine. You know what? It's crazy. The one thing about Star Wars that's strange is that when we seen her, she was abandoned, pretty much in that bunker, in that stronghold, in a sense. Now, one ship took off, one other ship was destroyed. Were there any ships out there left? Do you think her ship was left behind? Would you think the Empire would leave her ship left behind like that? Like, how did she get off that planet, bro?
I think if you go back and look at the previous episode, there was like another ship in that hangar off
the
ground.
Because I couldn't see.
She might have salvaged it or something. Yeah,
maybe she did. Anyway, she got to Tatooine, so we know that basically that's what
in one way or another. Yeah,
one way or another, she got there. She's probably she's probably called a space Uber or something. But anyway, she got there. You know what I mean? Again, like I kind of had to look, and I'm looking at it based on the information that that was leaked or like, I guess, carelessly left behind from Bail Organa with the communicator, and that gave her more so information on the son, because he did say a lot in that communicator. So of course she's heading to Tatooine, and knew she was going to end up there. But how do you think about the opening scene, like between her, visibly, we can tell that, she's still in between, but more so with a rage, and she's dealing with revenge at this particular point. How did you think about, what did you feel about the opener?
Well, first of all, I'm curious because I see a couple of people are asking in the chat as well, is that how does she know whether or not if Luke was actually Vader's son? Because from what I remember from that broken message, it just basically said like Owen, the boy, Tatooine. She didn't really find it, really didn't say. I think the part where he says that if Vader knew about the boy or something like that, or if he knew about the children, I think that part was kind of broken up a little bit. So I don't, unless she played it again, was able to salvage it. I mean, who knows?
And we know that her character is very intuitive. Her force power is very unique. on how she's able to pick up on certain things. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure she was able to sense him too when she met him. You guys notice too another thing? I mean, I'm curious to know that those wraps that she had around her waist, yeah, from her wound. But what are the chances if there were modders around around this time and she actually got modded or something like that? You
Wow.
know, little callback to the Book of Boba. But hey, I don't know. Just throwing it out there, man.
There had to be modders. Look at Vader. There had to be modders somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I love what Sean alluded to, man. I mean, I think he nailed it down as far as like the world setup. I mean, just seeing her going back to Tatooine and not so much as an Inquisitor anymore, but again with this cloak. I kind of think if it was like a brown, I think it'd be a bad idea to be wearing a brown cloak actually, considering that there's Inquisitors hunting Jedi. You know, in the relation with the brown cloak, but you know, that's just my thinking right there. I'm sure if anything, it's probably just to try to blend in with the crowd a little bit more. But yeah, we see her; she's broken, man, and she's just looking for information, and she's on a mission. But I'm just again, I think it's such a shame that we really didn't get this character more fleshed out as far as the character development was concerned. I think a lot of episodes could have benefited from that, so we can really, I guess, have a little bit more attachment to her in a sense, rather than just finding out her motives in the previous episode from what was going on. But yeah, they're them raps, man. She's got mechanics under there somewhere. But no, it was a good opener, man. I mean, leading up to the episode. Yeah,
definitely. So, CC. What did you think about this opener? Her being on Tatooine, we know that, what's been kind of alluded to, like we sort of know her motivation in the end, but in the very beginning, we're kind of like still clueless as to what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, what is the motive at that point? So it's interesting.
Having time to digest this and also see other people's opinions of it, what I think is really interesting is, I've seen a lot of people interpret her wanting to go after Luke as not something like she's putting two and two together, because there's nothing to suggest that she knew that Leia was Vader's daughter. It was more that, okay, this is someone that Obi-Wan is clearly wanting to protect, and I just want to hurt Obi-Wan. And that's the mission. So they don't know Leia's connection to Obi-Wan, just that for some reason Obi-Wan, because of probably his relationship with Bail, does not want to see this child hurt. So she intercepts this message from Bail Organa again regarding another child that neither of them want to see hurt. So she's like, okay, this is someone I want to go try to hurt now. But you kind of like her standing up to that factory guy kind of gives you an indication that maybe because of the conversations with Obi-Wan, she's kind of leaning more towards that redemption arc that we kind of alluded to, where she's, instead of, I think a few episodes prior, without the conversations with Obi-Wan about how she wants to seek revenge on Vader, she would not have stepped in and reacted the way she did to this guy at the water trolley thing. So I thought that this was really interesting. So it's funny that I think now, because the episode this season, assuming it's just the one season or series, if we just get the one season as opposed to two, is over, I kind of wish they hadn't spent so much time on Reva, if I'm quite honest. I think she's a very interesting character, but I think it would have been great to introduce her in this where we don't know so much, and have focus be Obi-Wan and Vader. I mean, I think we'll obviously go through like how we feel at the end of this episode later, but I think that they certainly open the door to like us seeing more Reva. But as someone who's rather selfish and that Vader's my favorite, I kind of wish that they had focused more on Obi-Wan and Vader's relationship in this, as opposed to the redemption arc of Reva. But
so she was, again, used to push the narrative forward, but at the same time, I think that if her character would have been shrouded more in mystery, she would have been more received. I think just because, again, thrust it in the forefront as one of the mains. It did, in a sense, it did, take away from some of the important parts. But um, again, I try to understand why they did it. I mean, with Vader, if we look at history with, from A New Hope, from, Empire, from Return of the Jedi, you know what I mean? Any film that he's actually been, even his his appearances in Rogue One, and any other, we've, even basically the original trilogy, we've only got but so many minutes of Vader or so much time with Vader each individual time. I mean, unless he was fighting. I mean, I think we got more screen time in Vader as a whole in Return of the Jedi, than anything else. But it was just more time there. But yeah, I do honestly agree that we could have gotten, more time to even to see the conflict within him, also the conflict between him and Obi-Wan, because clearly we see a hint, and this is like the first time that we can actually say that the Emperor noticed there's a hint of good in him still, that's causing the conflict. So anyway, we'll get to that point. This is spoiler talk, so yeah, let it go. The Emperor's in this motherfucker, so fuck it. But yeah, so anyway, moving on though, this was the dopest scene, like one of the dopest scenes to me. Again, we get a chance to see, look at that, bro. Oh my god. When I saw this on screen again, and I don't care how many times I see Vader, like just from behind, like I would want to see, I want this print. Like I want this as a print. Like this is amazing, bro. Seeing Vader on the Devastator, in full pursuit of Obi-Wan, and he just doesn't care at all. Seeing all of this was just a harkening back to everything that we know. And then on top of that, we start hearing the music. You know what I mean? And when we hear that music, it's just like, it's incredible. I mean, I was all in on it. Cece, I'm gonna stay with you right here because I know this is basically your guy. You flex about him or with him all the time. You're probably going to end up flexing his helmet sometime tonight. I don't believe that you don't have anything to flex, but anyway, what did you think about seeing Vader on the Devastator for the again and in full pursuit? How did you feel about it?
I mean, this is what I live for. Like, just I don't know like what else to say. I love this. And it's funny you mentioned, of course, like art prints. There's a particular artist in mind. Everyone knows I love Matt Ferguson. He's a great artist. He's like one of my favorites, at least top 3 artists of all time. Of course, he'd kill it and do something like this. However, I also really would love to see Mark Englert. He tends to do very like panoramic kind of styles. So they're like 12 inches by 36 inches. So I could see him doing something like this, where this is the initial scene. And then he does something that some people tend to think is gimmicky, but he'll do like a glow in the dark layer. So the glow in the dark layer might be like him with Obi-Wan in a scene that we're going to talk about later or something like that. So yeah, I love this scene. I think, and I'm going to poll the room basically, but I think that this was interesting in that some people said it seemed like a plot hole to them, that he was so willing to go after Obi-Wan and abandon they didn't even call them separatists. They didn't even call them rebels. I forget what they actually called them, but he was willing to abandon the main ship that felt kind of Last Jedi-ish, where it's like, oh, it's a ship full of rebels and they're running into mechanical issues, but I just want Kenobi. I'm going to like just skirt off with my shuttle, and you guys don't have to chase the main rebels. That's fine. Like, I just want Kenobi. That's my end game. I think it makes sense given what we know is that there's that tunnel vision where he wants one thing and that's his only mission. So he kind of like doesn't focus on the bigger picture, like what would be best for the Empire, which would also be capturing a bunch of rebels before they start trouble. So this scene made sense to me as far as like the kind of lying in wait, and then also waiting for just the goal being Kenobi and not necessarily everyone else who's on that ship.
Yeah, because we knew that at that point that was his own personal mission at that point, of what he wanted, that fueled by that rage and, just revenge filled. It definitely did make a sense. Last Jedi, I mean, I can definitely see, even some of the things that were said and stuff like, it's like, ugh, that again. I mean, I just didn't want to have like that abandoned ship in space, being, chased down and, shields won't hold up for a long time. It's just like that part of it was like, okay, can we land and just have a pursuit on the ground, just trying to change up the narrative a bit. You know what I mean? But I mean, we got what we did. It was just kind of cool to see, Vader, this way and ready to go. What did you think about it? Like, I was like seeing Vader on the Devastator and just seeing him in rare form. What did you think about it?
Well, to be honest with you, I kind of wanted him to kind of like not be outrun by other people. I wanted him to actually overtake. But and I kind of wanted a lot of that. And when this series first came out, what I wanted was to see Darth Vader in those uncomfortable situations where he's barely making it out with his life. And I guess we kind of got something like that, or where he kind of got pretty beat up, because a lot of the figures we see are like, Vader in his gorgeous, black, outfit and everything, but there's singes of fire on it, and part of his mask is broken, and he's kind of like been through something, but we don't always get to see what he's been through.
Yeah.
So I kind of was hoping that he would find himself in a situation like that. And I guess we did see that, but, kind of. But, I wanted him to feel uncomfortable. And throughout this entire series, he seems pretty comfortable with himself. And, of course, I had to wait a little while to see him kind of unsettled or moved away from what his goal is. But, I almost get the impression that he's not necessarily fighting against Palps the way I thought he would kind of be resisting him, in the sense of feeling like he has the ability to go and do whatever he pleases. He doesn't. Palps always gives him an order and a command. So the idea of, kind of making his own decisions isn't something that I always associate with Darth Vader, because I just assumed that he was always following direct orders. But whether he follows a direct order or not, seeing him, traverse the galaxy and going wherever he wants to go, it's almost like the galaxy's his oyster. Of course he has to wear this suit and everything, but he can go, pretty much anywhere. He's capable of doing pretty much anything. He's pretty powerful, and those uncomfortable moments kind of balance out the perfection of the suit, how perfect and pristine he looks, and all the preparation and everything. So, I'm kind of, and I know I'm jumping a little bit further, but I'm kind of at this point eager to see the suit kind of get scuffed up, eager to see some scratches and breaks and burns and stuff. I know that's bad, but he can take it, he can take it, and just keep going. And, presumably if he hadn't died the way he did, he'd probably be alive for another 100 years, knowing this guy. So, so, while I understand, his desire to go ahead and go in a certain direction, inevitably, I always think that when he makes those initial decisions on his own, or if he's not following direct orders, the plan always gets foiled, because Palps knows exactly what he's doing. So, so that's what when I see this, I'm thinking, okay, it looks like things are going in a certain direction, but we all know it's not going to end up the way he's planning. So that's what the scene kind of reminds me of, because it looks like everything is, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, but that's just an illusion on the outside.
It's sort of like we can tell, like, if it's like always the man behind the mask who believes that he has a level of control until he's faced with that situation, and he realizes how much he's lost control. You know what I mean? So it's like seeing Vader, you already know what's happening next or what's to come. But this man, this I echo what Mario said. That helmet is incredible. Use man, like what you think about this, bro? Like just seeing Vader. We know, with him in pursuit, we already know what's coming. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a point that I'll make now, but when we look at the final kind of fight scene and stuff like that, it'll become more apparent. But to me, this is not Darth Vader. This is Anakin Skywalker in the Darth Vader costume, right? In that Obi-Wan Screen Crush, sorry, had a great sort of breakdown of it that I watched the other day that made total sense. But Obi-Wan has this sort of not power, but this connection to Anakin that just brings out the Anakin in Vader. You know what I mean? So he's not the Vader that we see in Episode 4 when he's just crushing everything and obedient to Palpatine and who he is and all that stuff. He's driven by his emotions. He's driven by his hatred for Obi-Wan. He's driven by all that stuff. So he's gonna turn and chase Obi-Wan and not, kill the rebellion or the seeds of the rebellion or whatever it is. And so, the whole being back on the ship and the aesthetics of, the dark side or whatever, the, Empire is just awesome. It just looks badass no matter what you're going to shake it up. So, and I'll, talk about the whole Anakin thing later, but I think this is Anakin that we're seeing. And I think that's the decision mindset that he's making. And 100%, he's definitely going to go after Obi-Wan. Now that he's seen him, he's had him in his grasp once and he got away, and now he's definitely going to try and get him again. So ultimately badass. This helmet's awesome. And
and it's almost like he can, he feels with that direct link to Obi-Wan. It's like you can tell, okay, now I know he's getting stronger. I know he's where I need him to be so we can face that one last time in his eyes. You know what I mean? So he's fully charged. Obi-Wan's on the brain. So, it was just decent to see. Also like just seeing the which we'll get to in a minute. We know that, even in the lore itself, there was always competition between him and the Grand Inquisitor, because he always felt that the Grand Inquisitor was the potential threat to his rank. That, why, always question why the Emperor had to have the Inquisitors, knowing that, he was the second in command, like he was his go-to, his student, you know what I mean? So it was always a competition between him and the Grand Inquisitor. And we got a chance to see that conflict slightly in the show. Like, you know what I mean? The Grand Inquisitor, questioned his judgment, but he was already like, no, I know what I'm, this is what we're going to do. You know what I mean? So I did love seeing that. Mario, what did you think about it, man?
No, man, it was great to see Vader on the bridge again. It just gave me vibes of the end of Revenge of the Sith and some scenes in Return of the Empire or The Empire Strikes Back. This shot also in particular here, I got those exact same vibes with the Star Destroyer chasing the Falcon through the just before the asteroid field. It was one of those things. I mean, you see Vader just on the bridge. Hey, Toya. And I had to say what's up real quick. And you see him just like, I love how he's just still and just like, he seems cold and calculating in a sense, to where what I would have thought, or what I thought what he was actually going to do is jump in his TIE Advanced and actually chase him down. Do a little bit, a little callback to Attack of the Clones, and chase down Obi-Wan. I think that would have been dope. And then to see the Star Destroyer actually take off to go after, chase after the other rebels. But ultimately, he just says, more firepower or increasing firepower or whatever. And Obi-Wan ultimately escapes. And but just, bro, anytime Vader's on screen, man, I just absolutely I love it, man.
Definitely.
And yeah, as you were alluding to the conflict between the Grand Inquisitor, yeah, that was another thing I noticed. He just like the Grand Inquisitor seemed like was more his plan was more logical. However, Vader just has Kenobi on the mind. He's like, I'm gonna, get this
Yeah.
dude by any means. So
Yeah.
I don't care what you say right now. We're going after Kenobi, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's like the that need, does the need of the few outweigh the need of the many? You know what I mean? Like one of those situations. So there was always that question. But yeah, I just love that challenge in between both of them. Moving on, we actually see again the conversation that Obi-Wan has. I keep forgetting his name. His character name.
I think it's Ronan. Is it
Ice
Ronan?
Cube Jr. Just call him Cube Jr.
Just call him
Just call him
Cuban.
call him ice
O'Shea.
chips.
O'Shea is his name,
O'Shea.
right?
But I keep
I thought it was Ronan or something similar,
Nah,
like the
something
Japanese.
something like that.
something in that verse. But I love the conversation
Roken.
that they had here. Roken.
Roken,
Yeah, Roken.
Roken, there
Yeah,
you
there
go.
it is, Roken.
Agree.
How he basically Roken comes out. He lets the people know that, even in pursuit, they're gonna land, and like he's gonna land on the nearest location to get everybody off. But he's just trying to keep hopes, up there, hope alive. But Obi-Wan is like, we're not going to make it, and he's letting him know that the shields can't hold but too long. They need to actually, I think the ship needed to be repaired. They didn't know how, and that's when Obi-Wan came to the terms that he had to leave. He lets young Leia know that he has to go. She, of course, she is so adorable. This little girl is adorable. But she lets him know that she doesn't want him to go. Everybody's like, what about us? Like, we were all supposed to stay together. Obi-Wan just lets them all know, like, look, he doesn't, he's after me. Me being on the ship is a danger to everyone else. So I have to go. And of course Leia runs off. Then he talks to Obi-Wan talks to, I forget the name of the character. I always forget the names. These names are beyond me. But he talks to the one guy, like, it's looking, you make sure that you protect her by any means, that you get her to
Aja,
Bell.
I think his name was.
Is her name Aja?
Aja or something like that.
I think, yeah, Aja. It could be whatever. But we see that conversation. He's like, give her time as she storms off. Just give her that moment. While Obi-Wan's just making that decision to go. But yeah, we see that confusion. Then later on, we actually phase to back to Tatooine. We see Owen and Luke entering, just for spare parts. Owen, alludes that, we wouldn't be in this predicament if it wasn't for Luke. It's just like that back and forth between the both of them. We had the merchant saying that, Owen, you're a patient man. Your uncle's a patient man. But then we also have the merchant come in and say, Owen, there's something I need to tell you at that point. Again, we have Obi-Wan. We get back to the ship, where he's saying he has to leave. Of course, that's when we see the conversation between them both. We go back to Tatooine, of course, where, Owen and Luke basically show up back home, where he has to let Beru know, or he says, look, something's coming. Just come inside so I can let you know. And it was funny, basically, when he was like, Ben's not here, and she said, whose fault is that? You know what I mean? So I love that banter, but I love the chemistry. I want to see them again. That's why I wanted season 2 to see more. I mean, here's the thing. When I look at it, it's like the core bunch of the lore that we know is Obi-Wan, Owen, Beru, Vader, Luke. You know what I mean? Those particular characters deserve more shine. You know what I mean? Because that's who we know, but at the same time, it pushes the narrative forward as well. But I definitely did, love seeing that. But yeah, I thought it was incredible. Cece, what did you think about, number one, the banter back and forth on the ship, Luke, Obi-Wan, coming to terms that he has to leave. Again, we see that attachment between him and Leia, and in how she's like, you promised me, you would get me home, but she was really saying is like, yo, I don't want you to go. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I just love the chemistry between the both of them. But we knew that, he was going to have to get off that ship in order for us to see that confrontation between him and Vader. What did you think up until this point?
I really liked too that we saw that Leia wasn't afraid. It kind of like you see little sparks that remind you of who we know she's going to be. She's certainly not like your typical 10-year-old, and that they're seriously panicking, as you would, because they understand the dangers that they're in, especially when you realize like a lot of these people, like that mother and the child, they've been on this path, like this underground railroad kind of situation for a very long time, presumably before this point. And the just seeing the attachment they have already in the time they've spent is always nice to see. I mean, I it added a more human element, because I think, unfortunately, we've seen this scene several times in Star Wars, right? Where there's like a ship full of random people and the Empire's after them. So I think it kind of humanized them, seeing her like play with the other children and kind of like calm them down. So yeah, I liked the scene. Of course, I'm going to be quite honest with you. And I blame Zach entirely with Collecting Weekly on this for giving me a lot of anxiety, because he was giving me anxiety by sending me like Lego photos where he's like, Lego put out a play set of Obi-Wan and Vader fighting, and it's the one from like episode 3. And they say in the caption of their Instagram post, "This is the rematch we're all waiting for." So I was like, pit sweats, like, oh my God, is that like, he was like, that's it, man. That's it. We're not going to see them fight ever again. That was the fight. And I'm like, no, that wasn't the fight. Listen, that wasn't the fight. That's not, Lego doesn't know everything. Okay. Like that can't be. And he was sending me gifts and stuff back and forth of like him having, like tantrums as I was about like, no, we have to see. So I appreciate that. This kind of gave me hope, where it's like, oh, rematch. Okay, like this is what we've all been waiting for. Like maybe we'll get the proper fight, and they've just been dragging it out this so long. So I did. I was a little like concerned going into this episode that maybe it was going to be like a cat and mouse situation where they're going to be on their respective ships and maybe connecting via the Force, and we wouldn't see them battle it out. But seeing that he made. This was fully expected, right? It's Obi-Wan. He's going to be the one to want to be willing to sacrifice himself for all of these people, these strangers rather. So I did like this scene because it made me excited for like the future, to see the final rematch that we're all waiting for.
Yeah. So when you
is
knew
anyone
that,
else getting?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lel. Is anyone else getting Jesus vibes looking at the still shot right here? Look at him. He's got the robes on, the garb, and everything.
Yeah,
Everyone's looking at him.
Because remember, like during Attack of the Clones, remember there was a meme about the way Obi-Wan looked.
Well, exactly. Even more so right here, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. Real quick, go ahead.
I think, and I understand what you're saying about this one scene, but I think that Ewan looks so good in this series. I understand what you're saying about Jesus, but I'm getting other vibes too. That's all I was going to say.
Oh my. I'm sorry.
I was like, the last scene where he's in like the white and he has the goggles around his neck.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything that's gonna
look at you guys,
it's serious when the girl goes.
I know. Look at you guys. Damn.
Well, and what's funny is you mentioned he looks like Jesus. I think everyone has seen the jokes about like people who prank their family members and like change out all the photos they have of Jesus in the house to like photos of Obi-Wan with the long hair. And he visited Tunisia years ago. He did like a documentary series, like a mini series, where it was him and a friend on motorcycles, and they went like all throughout Africa, and it was amazing. And I haven't seen the most recent one, but they had a picture of him up on the wall looking like Jesus, and no one recognized him. No one was like, holy shit, that's you, McGregor, or like that's Star Wars.
That's amazing.
Like, no one recognized him because he had short hair, and I think he had like maybe some stubble but not a beard. But if anyone, the long way around. So there's the long way around and then the long way down. And if anyone knows like Rogue 16, my friend Steve, I tell him all the time, like, listen, if we are ever at a con and we have an opportunity to meet him, we will fight. I will fight you for him. Like, that's his guy crush. That's my crush. I'm just like, listen, like, don't make me cause a scene, okay? I will fight you for the chance to meet him. But yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Wow.
Sermon on the Mount right here, man. Look at him.
Real quick, we got a super chat earlier I didn't get to. Super chat by Superhero Displays. May the force be with you all. Thank you very much for that $79 super chat, man. Love it. But yeah, that's hilarious. You know it's serious when the girl goes, like we both of them did, and they start waving like a fan. Come on, man, that's crazy. But yeah, I forgot where I was and who was I supposed to go to.
We're all distracted.
It's like, yeah, we're really distracted. Who did I miss? That who? I went to you.
I didn't go, but they said it all. Great scene, Leia, comfort people. She's coming into her own. That's all I'll say. And
Sean also has the hots for Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. 100%.
I didn't feel like it needed to be said, but I thought I'd throw that out there as well.
No, that's a given. That's like Sean loves his wife, loves Ewan McGregor.
There you go.
Switching back and forth depending on the two.
Wow, man! I guess
you have a pulse. You're susceptible.
No, dude, you're above both of them, dude. You're top tier.
All right.
All right. So basically, we get the next scene after we, see Owen and Beru getting ready for Reva's possible arrival. We get back on the ship, and we see that discussion between Jesus and and Leia, and he's basically just comforting her, just letting her know that look, I had to go. Please tell your father that I did try. She's like, promise that you'll come back. And he says, yes, I promise. We see that he gives her the holster. And she's like, it's empty. And he's like, Leia, you're 10 years old.
10
like,
years old. I'm not going to give you a gun.
I'm not going to give you a gun. Exactly. But who
funny.
knows about the future, stuff like that. I love seeing, I think like just seeing that embrace between the both of them was amazing. She's just such an adorable kid. Like, I really did love that. And you can tell that, he really loves Leia. Like, in a short amount of time, he's developed that much between them. Again, we're back on the ship. And again, it's that conversation between Vader and the Inquisitor. Yeah, this was, again, I just love that banter back and forth between the two. Because we know at any given time, Vader can just be like, yeah, you don't want this. Like, seriously, you don't want this for real. But again,
throw him out the window.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But again, it would have been nice. It'd been nice to see it. But again, we know that, pretty much they are in pursuit. Still, we're back on Tatooine, where we basically see Owen tell Luke that there are some Tusken Raiders that are raiding again and to stay there, be safe. And I love when it, foreshadows Luke always saying, I'm not afraid. You know what I mean? And, I love basically getting that scene there. At that point, we see Vader, pretty much back on the ship in pursuit of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, basically looks at that droid that, pretty much, exactly, was slipped inside of his robe. He looks at it, as a reminder that, he has to go back. I love how they did that, because she's like, you have to come back to bring me my droid. You know what I mean? So make sure you get back. But then exactly, we see Reva. We flash back to Reva basically. Now, here's the thing, and I do agree with this. I think there was too much flashback or flashing between scenes. The cutting in between, Reva, on Tatooine, arriving, to kind of, of course, we know she was after Luke, but it was just the cutaway in between. It was just too much time spent on that. It didn't have to be that much time spent on it, especially when we already knew what the outcome was going to be, or sort of what the outcome was going to be, and where she was headed, and what her motives was at that point. I would have much rather had stuck with, what we got, but and again, alarm goes off. She's there, at the Lars homestead, and she's just ready to go. Again, visibly wounded, but again, she knows what she's there for, driven by revenge, so there's no pain. And then we get back to this. It's right here. There we go. There he is. We're getting prepared. Cece, I know when you saw this, you were just like, yo, I'm so happy that I'm going to get the battle that I want. This right here is a print too. This would be a dope print. This would. And I know that you're going to push that button to try to get something like this made. But what did you think about? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, your anticipation up until this particular point, we know what's going to actually happen. Cece, let me ask you a question. How were your emotions? Like, what were you feeling at this point when you knew what was coming? How was your excitement? How was the adrenaline and everything at this point?
I mean, I think I'm trying to remember. Of course, I watched it live, so you could always go back in and watch my reaction live, because I'm trying to remember. I wasn't like entirely at the edge of my seat. I think I was still like
taking it all in.
Like, let's see what plays out, because I think I'd set it up in my mind, kind of set myself up for disappointment that like maybe this is not going to be the rematch that we're all expecting. And I think too that had you asked me before this what kind of quote unquote rematch I was expecting, it was very much like Mustafar Part 2. And I don't think we got that necessarily. I liked that this was kind of almost like our version of a Mexican standoff, where it's like, what planet is this? Who gives a fuck? That's not why we're here. Like, we're not, it's just them on a deserted planet, here to hash it out. And I think that what we got was incredible. I think too the subtle nuances of Kenobi at one point calls him Darth, I think towards the end of their confrontation. And so that was kind of like a nice little nod, Easter egg to New Hope. But I think I'll wait for how I think about this fight until like maybe a little bit towards the end of it. I have some questions for everyone here, and including the chat, as far as like, there's something that happened that I've been thinking for several days now, like, well, wait a minute, what was the rationale for that? And I still haven't figured it out in my head, as far as like what I think that either Anakin's motivation was or Kenobi's motivation was. So, but I don't want to jump ahead of things. I do want us to like discuss this further and like hear everyone's thoughts on it first.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I mean, again, it was just the pure excitement. And then it was, I was number one. I think that what I was really happy to see was, Obi-Wan back to his form, his fighting form. You know what I mean? We see that basically he always leans to Form 3 fighting style itself, which is simply amazing. We got an iconic look, again, at his stance. When he was ready, Vader was there. Vader basically arrives and asked him, are you here to destroy me? And he said, I would do when I must. And that, when I saw this right here, I was like, yeah, it's on. It's time. It's time to go. That's the Obi-Wan that, pretty much we've been waiting to see since the beginning. And to kind of get this, knowing that, okay, he's ready now. And I think Vader was like, yeah, that's what I've been waiting for. And ensues the fighting. Everything basically begins at this point. I want to play a little bit so bad, but I just don't want to do it. But the fighting begins. And I just loved it. I loved it from the beginning. Mario, what did you think about, again, when we see Vader arriving and coming off his ship, full form, we see both of them standing off against each other. How did you feel about it?
Oh man, this is one of those scenes where you're like, you're sitting back in your chair and he gets up out the ship and sees Obi-Wan, and you like get up like this and you're like, okay, what's gonna happen? I'm here for it. I mean, you know what? To be honest, I mean, when Obi-Wan did that pose again, I was like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I get the excitement. Yeah, Obi-Wan's back and all that, but I was just not really the biggest fan of that pose. But you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that's a minor nitpick. But dude, man, I mean, the blood was pumping, man, and yeah, I was just seeing this. I don't know, this pent up emotion between the both of them.
Yeah.
Going at it, man, and I loved it. I freaking loved it, man. And then when it cuts to Reva, I'm like, no.
Like those cuts. That's what I'm saying. Like those cuts
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah, there were a bunch of back and forth jump cuts, you know, between the two.
Yeah.
I think they could have easily careful.
I'm done. I'm done. Yeah.
I think they could have easily
Yeah.
you know, expand upon this a little bit more to a certain point, and then show a little bit of what's going on in Tatooine.
Yeah.
Because this was the main focus, what everybody wanted to see. Everyone
This is the main event.
was waiting everyone was waiting for this thing to play out. We finally get it. And for them to cut it like that, man, I was like, no, I mean, come on. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, in the end, at the end of the day, they did their thing, and I ate it up, man.
Yeah, I ate it all up, man. I loved it. What did you think about this? Like seeing both Vader and Obi-Wan finally the confrontation, at least, you know, the confrontation that they hinted about. We wanted to actually see how this was going to play out, and would it again, it kind of put that stamp on, the quote that we got from Vader in A New Hope, that this, we know now, was the last that they met, in battle before we got New Hope. But all in all, what did you think about it so far?
Well, as everyone who's spoken already has said, that this was the fight we were waiting for. And I didn't like that they did interrupt the fight, but also some of the ways that they were filming it, like you're kind of like, you're watching it from one angle versus another angle, and they kind of switch around the angles a little too abruptly for me. So, it made it a little bit harder for me to kind of see what was going on, but it needed to be longer.
Yeah.
I would say probably twice as long, and somebody should have been bleeding. I mean, it's not that Vader wasn't bleeding, but
yeah,
let's make this thing brutal. This is, I did like that they decided or levitated rocks and stuff. That was cool. That I really did like that. And I did like seeing they purposefully, it's in a place that's dark, so you can see the brightness of the sabers, which was also very nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I wanted to hear more smack talk. Maybe I did. I admit that. A few more comments about what was going on, and maybe something else that they had, why do you even exist anymore, Obi? Kind of like, some reason or some other comments that they wanted to say to each other. I guess they are communicating somehow, but
yeah.
I think I would have liked to have seen, for those of us who can't use the Force to communicate, I would have liked to have heard some more smack talk between the two of them.
Yeah.
On this part. And I did get what I wanted. Vader kind of got, I'm not going to say smacked around. His suit got cracked. Mm-hmm. And then he had the trouble breathing, which was nice. I know that sounds bad, but I think I would have liked to have seen more breakage, and the burying was okay. And I don't think any of us expected him to be in the hole for long, but he wanted to bury him in a hole. I wasn't quite sure if that was symbolic of, getting rid of him, but obviously he hadn't really touched him other than to put a whole bunch of rocks on him. And, he was going to get out of that more or less, but, or was it just a show? We'd already seen them move around a lot of rocks, so it was kind of a repeat of what we saw. But I think, just kind of, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but I think the reason why he stopped fighting Vader, only because from what I understand, he wants the Force to decide, let the Force make the decision. as to what would happen to Vader. Of course, we know what was going to happen. It's not that we didn't know what was going to happen, but if the fate of the Force is going to decide what's going to happen, then we already know the outcome there. And also, it would have been very interesting in the sense that if, Obi kind of was there and he's fighting him and he's pursuing him, and Obi's kind of he's not happy that he had to even fight him again, and he's also not happy that I guess Anakin or Vader is rejecting him again, and he's also not happy that he even had to come to this point again. So unfortunately for him, maybe he's at a point where he can kind of let it go now, which is something that I had not thought that he would even be thinking about. But if he's supposed to be healing, if he could, this might give him the opportunity to heal, because he's kind of been absolved of the responsibility, or the sense of responsibility that things went so wrong. I mean, I imagine that and we already discussed this about him blaming himself for what happened to Anakin, but at this point now, so many years later, seeing everything how things have played out, I think also Obi knows that he could never really confront Palps and kind of like say, you corrupt this person, and I'm taking him with me, like that's not going to happen. So I think that there's the kind of the finite situation of it. Whether he was playing out what he did wrong in his mind or not now doesn't matter anymore, because he could never overcome both Vader and Palps at the same time. So I think that might kind of help him to release some of the guilt that's preventing him from seeing, I guess, all the Force ghosts around him that he didn't know were there. So now that he can kind of release that energy, which it is negative energy. Now that he can release that, I think that he might be giving off a different vibe. And, there's some people who do walk around with anger and disappointment, and, they look fine. But, for a Force sensitive person, you can feel when somebody has something, a disappointment or a dark place or whatever you want to call it, in them. I think, especially for two people that are that close. And I think once he started to let go of whatever was bothering him, I think Vader realized that and did not like that. I think that probably really, bothered him, because he was like, oh, this is not something that he feels that he has to tackle anymore. I'm sort of like, yesterday's news. Yesterday's news for Vader, but you know what I mean? Like, kind of everything that happened is 10 years ago. It's yesterday's news. Yeah. So I think that probably was more disturbing to Darth Vader than getting his helmet cracked open.
Yeah. And what I do like about this is, even with this particular scene foreshadowing the high ground, I thought that at this point Vader was going to be like, Obi-Wan, now I have the high ground at this point before we buried him. I was just waiting for that. Didn't happen, but still, amazing shot. It just showed I mean, come on, man. Like, he used the Force to crack the ground beneath Obi-Wan to bury him, and that was his way, you know what I mean, of wanting in the end. And here's the thing, is like the moments where if it might be so morbid, but like my sign of revenge is when you literally, like, I wanted to see you dead. I want you dead by my hands, not just being buried and suffocated, but by my hands. You know what I mean? Not just doing that and just walking away like everything's okay. You got to remember, you are dealing with a Jedi, one of the most powerful Jedi there is. So, I mean, I just thought that, on Vader's part at this point, it was a teeny bit carelessness just to kind of walk away and think that it was settled at that point. Or maybe he knew, I don't know. But what you think about this, man? Like, this confrontation that we've finally been waiting to see between Vader and Obi-Wan. How do you think it played out?
So I'll talk about the first part, because I think the whole like the end of it, I think, deserves its own thing. So I'll just talk about this first part. I thought this was super badass, dude. Like, I thought, seeing the fight we've all been waiting, like, you've got all set, the fight we've all been waiting for, you know what I mean? I think that it was cool to see Vader, Obi-Wan basically not at full strength, but at mostly full strength, and got his groove back to be able to sword fight and stuff like that again. I thought that was badass seeing him fight Vader like that. And you could see Vader, initially just kind of go with the one-handed, moves that he was doing last time, but then realizing, oh shit, Obi-Wan's got his game back. You see him, he grabs it, both
He
hands.
grabs both hands, yeah.
So it was cool to see that transition in that fight. I thought the scene was cool, the dark background with the the new CFX or GFX sabers that they're using, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Was awesome. The how they were basically only lit by the sabers, which was super badass. And yeah, just the whole throwing rocks and Obi-Wan doing the Jesus move where he just shoots all the rocks at him and stuff like that. I thought it was just super badass. And I'll talk about the emotional aspect of it in the other side when we get to the end of it. But just the fight. Yeah, this scene right here when he just Jesused out all the rocks towards him.
He's doing Jesus out.
And I just thought it was
like
badass.
Lazarus to all the rocks, right?
Yeah, bro.
Because it's basically like stuff that they would do kind of in Clone Wars or wherever, and just even in video games. I know someone's saying video game Vader, but just seeing him do this crazy stuff with the Force, because if it's arguably, forgetting about Yoda or whatever, it's the most powerful Force user that's at least available right now, versus the again, the most powerful Force user, but on the dark side. So seeing them just like pull out all the stops is badass. So and then how it ended with the emotionalness, we'll talk about. But it was awesome. I was super duper happy about this fight. It was definitely exactly what I wanted.
It's exactly what we wanted, exactly what we needed. Mario, bro, don't have to say more, man. Like, what you think, man?
You know what I want to know is that how does it rank up there for all the lightsaber fights throughout the entire saga for you guys? I personally think it's up there. Definitely for me, I want to say top 3.
Yeah.
Would agree.
I still so because I had to think about that, and I'm glad you asked that question. You kind of beat me to the punch, but one of the so I think that still my favorite lightsaber duel, period. I would have basically said that. I mean, come on, man. Empire was always my favorite between him and Luke. Because I just love the contrast. And on top of that, I just love seeing the fury in the end of Vader and how he was just toying with Luke. It was like baiting him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Return of the Jedi, that battle between the both. But bro, Duel of the Fates.
Really?
I'm a Maul fan. And I love Maul. And I loved how he literally was a snake baiting them. Both Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and I love that fight. But I can watch that over and over again and still get the same feels. The Hero Duel of Fates. As soon as that door opened and we see, Darth Maul, bro. I was like, yeah, I'm sold. Like I'm sold. So that is still, in my opinion, my number one. That's going to always be my number one.
Not even in your opinion. Dave Filoni says that's the most important saber duel or maybe even scene in all of Star Wars. So So you're in good company there, Leo, for sure.
Yeah. That Duel of the Fates, bro, it just hits all the field. Because I remember being in the theater the first time it was out, and and once we got to that, if you would have heard the entire crowd erupt, I've never heard a crowd like that, even watching Endgame. Like the crowd that night, never, bro.
He ignited the second half of that saber, dude.
Oh my god, bro! They went nuts. They went nuts. Everybody went nuts when that fight started. And just hearing Duel of the Fates, it was like, yo, it's over. So it's hard. Even with this fight the way it is, it's still hard for me to give it top 3. It is. It's hard. Maybe top 5 possibly. But even I like the animated fight between Ahsoka and Maul. Like that right there was incredible. So, and know that was even stop motion at that point was incredible. So, yeah, interesting, bro.
Ahsoka and Maul. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ahsoka and Maul.
I was going to say Ahsoka and Vader is like, I'd put, so like, it'd be Mustafar, this fight, Empire Strikes Back, and then Ahsoka versus Vader. would be like
Okay.
my top 4, I think, off the top of my head real quickly, like on the spot. Yeah. I can't ignore, just because it's animated, I can't ignore I think too, like you're sensing a theme here where it's like the fights that have an incredible emotional impact, where it's not just like two badasses going at it. It's like there's like pain involved. There's like feels on the line, you know? Yeah, those would be my top 4 perhaps right now.
Gotcha.
Vinny's in the chat. What's going on, Vinny?
Vin.
Yourself out there, bro.
Vin, what's going on, brother? So glad to have you here, man. So glad to have you here. I got my baby girl. She is in the building. I love you and Hayden's acting for this scene. So much emotion. Oh, me too, baby. Me too. But yeah, it's. What about you? What are your favorite fights?
Well, it's definitely the Ahsoka and Maul fight. Something about that fight where they end up on that scaffolding and they're like, it's like they're doing a rope dance. And I thought, oh, there's no way they can do a fight up there. Sure enough, you know, like they end up fighting at the top and you know, even though she drops her lightsaber or, you know, wherever it ended up, you know, she doesn't give up in the fight. And I just thought that was something that I should have known she wasn't going to give up. In other words, I thought that was it. Or, you know, maybe she would just climb somewhere else. But she was actually still in it. Yeah. Even without her lightsaber, which I guess technically speaking, it's not a lightsaber fight anymore. She doesn't have a lightsaber, right? Yeah. But she grabs his lightsaber, let's say, and fights that way. But something about that fight there, she knew she was going to beat him the whole time, I guess, as well.
And then knowing that she was trained by Anakin. And then she even made references in that battle, like, you're lucky Anakin's not here.
Well, the last time I saw it, I was with you, Lael, and we were watching it at Star Wars Celebration. So
and she was just toying with him the entire time. It was crazy.
Yeah. So that one is maybe the freshest one in my memory, but there are a few other ones that I like too. I like to see Asajj Ventress get out of tight spots all the time, you know, when she's kind of traipsing around and you know, anybody who pulls out their lightsaber as much as possible, I think gets my vote. But certainly the ones that we already are, you know, the best of the best. So there is that. But I just didn't like that they broke this one up. They should have just let us enjoy it. Yeah. And we could watch it and, you know, that way. But I might just have to find somebody who's put it, you know, continuously together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll see that. You know, we'll see that.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to actually do that. Definitely.
Yes, they will. And thank you, whoever you are.
Mario, though, what are your thoughts on this fight, man? First off, Mario, what are your favorites? Did we hear your favorites, bro?
Yeah, no, my top 3. Real quick, just want to say what's up to Darth Rashid out in the chat. What's going on, brother? You see here, man. My first and foremost was always Empire between Luke and Vader, and always will be. You know, that's where my heart is at. After seeing this one, to be honest, Return of the Jedi between Luke and Vader, and this one is kind of I'm kind of going back and forth between them, man. To be honest, but I think this is the hype probably talking. Yeah. But if I'm gonna stay true to myself, I'm gonna go Empire, Jedi, and then probably this one as well. All the other ones that everybody brought up is really, really good. Also real quick, I think what was it, Trexler Historical Art? He said one fight doesn't make the show good, unfortunately. I don't think anybody's saying that, dude. You know? I mean, it was just we all know the show has its problems, dude. But this particular episode, I mean, it's not going to make this episode great either, but this was like one of the highlights definitely throughout the entire series, you know? So, but yeah, man, I mean, I love the fight was just filled with emotion. One of the things that, what Sean had mentioned too, how he was just toying with them at the beginning, fighting with one hand with them, and then realizes that, okay, you know, Obi-Wan is getting his strength back, so let me go two-handed with him. The same thing that he did with Luke on Bespin, right? You know, again, just toying with him with a single hand. And then after a while, he's like, enough of this. I'm gonna beat your ass. Just go crazy on him. But yeah, man. I know the next part I know we're all going to talk about, man, was just truly where it gets everybody in the feels.
Yeah,
for sure. But no, it was great. I was really satisfied with the fight that we got, man.
yeah.
So much emotion, so much power between the both of them. Displaying how powerful they both. Oh my god, dude. As much as I hate to see this, it
was still dope.
It really was, man. I mean,
yeah. And I had to kind of watch it and freeze it, because at first I was like, how many slashes? But then it wasn't the slashes. He slashed once, but then he started hitting him with the back of the hilt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just mainly right there, because you knew at that point that he had him weakened. You can hear by the breathing, again, that it was weakened at that point. That's that, what's keeping him alive, that respirator there. That he needs. So that's the quickest point for him to really attack that. He knew where to go.
Is it saber whipping? Like, is there a term?
Exactly.
Yeah. Which, what is crazy, because now that I see this, and when I see this right here, and I harken back to New Hope, the fighting forms definitely changed. But you can see that Vader not only was just on the attack, but more so on the defense, because he was guarding. That's when he basically, now we see why he uses both hands in front of him. You know what I mean? So he's basically making sure that there's no way that you can get to that, what's on the respirator on his chest itself is, really linked to his breathing, keeping him alive, and it's actually, connected to his lungs. We can see it's actually plugged into his chest. So again, like, his fighting form definitely changes, where he's, more conformed, like more just like one of those things where he's just right in front of them at all time, focused, making sure that there's no strikes. I wish the guys who, they did that reenactment, I wish they were the ones that did this, because it would have been crazy. But again, I like the simple fact that we got this. We're seeing Obi-Wan, again, he reaches in, and then we get this infamous scene right here. The strike that was heard around the world. That thing again, and then seeing Obi-Wan recognizing that it's Vader. I mean, it's Anakin under that mask. We get a chance to see his face. It's like, wow, bro, like, and just
right there, man.
Yeah. Anakin is gone. Like, just that back and forth between he said Anakin is gone, I am what remains. You know what I mean? And just
we could play this part, dude.
If
there's one part that we could play, man, just sit back and just watch this whole thing.
And hear it, but like this back and forth between, the back and forth between Anakin's voice and Vader, James Earl Jones's voice was perfection. That was perfection. Hot Toys, don't fuck me over, bro. Please don't do that. Give me this, and I know you're going to give it to me, but I need this. But yeah, like, this right here was what we definitely wanted to see. It's crazy how the strike is on this side of the helmet with Obi-Wan, but when it comes to Ahsoka, it's on the right side. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy. Like,
don't remind me, dude. I don't want to hear that.
I know, twice. Hey, it happened, but she didn't best him. You know what I mean? Like, he still got it in, but it's still, but it's always good to see the student, the master and the student up against each other. That was incredible. But anyway, yeah, this was so hype. I'm gonna start with you first, man. What did you when you saw this, when that strike hit, and we knew that we actually had Anakin exposed, getting a chance to see, Hayden Christensen under the mask, and that, back and forth between the voices. What did you think?
Yeah, so I'll say, I know, at the beginning of this fight, you see Obi-Wan do the defensive stance or whatever. But then as the fight goes on, he starts to get more aggressive and starts to go on the attack, and it does not use that sort of defensive stance, which I think is when he started to get the upper hand on Anakin. And so then it culminated, obviously, in this slash, and you see he's, Obi-Wan's full bore, full everything. I'm going to kill Darth Vader, because he's, at this point in the show, he knows it's Anakin, but he's only seeing this imposing 7 foot tall evil Sith monster, and he's not seeing his friend. And then when he hits that, you immediately see his face, and then he immediately starts welling up, and then I start welling up, and then like it's you immediately see like, oh my god, it's actually Anakin. Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so seeing this, like, this is some of the best shit that, you know, I know Hayden has been in the show the whole time, and we've really only seen glimpses of him except for that flashback. But right here, the voice, how he stuttered his speech or gated his speech with the breathing and stuff like that, and the look that he was giving him, and just everything about it was so friggin' perfect. That, you know, the cut on the top of his head. Don't see, now you're playing that. Now you're gonna make me cry, dog. So, but yeah, Ewan McGregor just like acted the crap out of the scene and just made me feel everything. And it was truly like, like I think someone said in the chat earlier when he said, "I'm sorry," like a whole weight had been lifted off of him. You know what I mean? And you can kind of see when he says, "You didn't kill Anakin, I did." You know, when Darth says that, it's almost as if there's still some, you know, we know eventually there's some good left in Darth Vader and Anakin. And there seems like there's almost some good in him left too. That like he's saying that he didn't kill him is almost a way of his friend saying like, look, you can let it go, or
you can get that's what
or something like that. Like there's some little nuggets of Anakin left in there that's saying like, you can forgive yourself. I did this. I'm you know what I mean? So aside from it looking freaking badass and like, you're right, Hot Toys, give us this freaking toy or whatever. I ordered the Mythos statue today. Yeah, I ordered the Mythos statue today.
Dude.
Yeah,
my dude.
Yeah, so I love the scene. I loved everything about it. I know people are saying one good fight doesn't make a good show, but I think it's all been culminating in this, right? I mean, we know we know where the story ended. We know where it's going. You know what I mean? Like we know exactly. You know, we knew that he wasn't going to die and that, you know, Vader was going to survive. Like, we knew that was going to happen, but there needed to be some sort of gap of Obi-Wan becoming the sort of Zen teacher or whatever, a guy who just wanders the desert. And so I think him being able to forgive himself this way, it was a necessity. So, you know, I think it culminated in this, and this gave me the payoff that I wanted. So the fight was badass. The scene was badass. It definitely, this is the last time we see Anakin, you know, until obviously episode 6. So yeah, Obi-Wan getting that closure, and really, you know, when it gets to the end scene, when he's on the throne and they play the Imperial March and all that shit, like he's Darth Vader at that time. And right now he is still expelling the Anakin from the system, if you want to call it that. So seeing Obi-Wan getting that closure, seeing him so heartbroken, seeing Anakin how he is, and just it's badass. And, you know, I know a lot of people are saying no one's killing anybody in this show. You know, Darth leaves Reva alive and he leaves Anakin, you know, and they were kind of like, well, why didn't Anakin just kill him and prevent the slaughter of everybody? But like, there was, you know, and I know he couldn't have killed him because obviously there's a whole, 6 movies that have to happen, but there was no way that he was ever going to kill his friend again. Like no matter what, you know, if the mask stayed on, who knows, maybe, but when the mask came off, there was literally 0.0% chance that Obi-Wan does that to his friend again, because he still sees him there. You know what I mean? So I loved it. Perfect. You know, 10 out of 10. So
definitely. And we know that basically in the New Hope, you know, everybody knows what happened. Obi-Wan basically gives his life in hopes that not that, you know, Luke would just face him, but Luke could be that turning point to give or bring him back that redemption. You know what I mean? In which not all hope is lost. And he knows that giving his life at that point is the point where, you know, again, Luke has to take that position and maybe be that person, you know, that can change the tide, but also bring his father back to the light. But yeah, CC, I almost felt it though at this point we all had to give you like a group hug, because I know you were in those and emotional. I can feel the emotional beats in you at this point. What did you think about this though?
So yeah, I mean, the light on their face, like you see like a bit of blue and red on Vader, and then all of a sudden you see all red. And the fact that like the melding of the voices, like the AI, like James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen, was incredible. I realized as I was sitting here that I might be in trouble if anyone makes that helmet like live.
Right.
I don't know why I didn't, because like the
Don't give me
Mythos
hope, sister.
statue was a day one pre-order for me, so I'm excited for that. But
Nice.
I'm in trouble. My wallet is in danger if anyone makes this as a life-size helmet, because like
A
my
life-size
friends
bust. Ooh.
yeah, like the most beautiful thing I own is the like, melted Vader helmet from The Force Awakens, or Rise of Skywalker. I think mine's Rise of Skywalker, but yeah, I think, and some people have said it in the chat too, how kind of fitting it was. I think it was Ben and Charlie said that it makes sense now what Ben told Luke about like Darth Vader is the one who killed your father. Well, he's
From a
technically
certain
not
point of
wrong.
view,
Like, I
yeah.
know it seems like a schematics kind of thing. But what I think is very interesting, and Sean's already said what I initially thought, was that he said when Obi-Wan was like, I'm sorry, and he was like, you didn't do this, like I did this, like Vader killed Anakin.
Yeah.
Was that my first thought was mercy, but then my second thought was no.
Yeah.
Like I think it's arrogance. I think instead of like, he was very like, you in the beginning he was like, you made me this way. I think it's not to absolve Obi-Wan of the weight that he's been feeling all these years. I think it's like, congratulations, you contributed to this, partially, right? So like, you made me this way, and now he's like the murderous machine that's like more machine than man, as he said before. But in this scene where he's like, Vader killed Anakin, and therefore it wasn't like, I am not your failure. I think it's him taking complete ownership of his choices and saying that, like, maybe that's him evolving from the fight, obviously, on Mustafar, where he was very much like, you've betrayed me, and thought that, like, he and Padme were in cahoots. Like, I think this is him kind of, I don't know if it's like him lying to himself.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, these are my choices. This is like, I live with these choices. You had nothing to do with these choices. That's where, like, for several days, my mind went from like, well, what he said, was that out of mercy, like absolving Anakin of all this, Kenobi of all this guilt, or is it like, no, fuck you, like I did this to me and I'm better off because of it, kind of situation? Because the maniacal nature of him, like practically smiling when he says this Kenobi, does not seem like something out of brotherly love that they used to have. So that's where I think I might have to watch it a few more times to see how I feel about it later. But it didn't, to me, it didn't scream like, I'm gonna do you a solid and like say something that's gonna make you sleep better at night. That doesn't seem like the kind of personality that we saw in this fight.
So you're saying like more so like, I'm not going to give you such pleasure. You know, I want you to realize that you didn't make me. You know, you might have gave, the death blow, but I am who I am because I let go of who I used to be.
Or is it like because then it's conflicting, because that you made me this way. Is it like physical? Is he talking like, you did this to me, that's why I'm dragging you through fire, is because you destroyed this body of mine? But the power that I have with the Force and this darkness within me, that's on me. Like, that's, you might have destroyed the physical body, but I've always been this way. Or like, you're not the reason I'm this way. Like a personal responsibility thing. It's interesting. It's something that I should not be spending so much time thinking about, if I'm quite honest. It's probably a little unhealthy. But yeah.
No, it's not.
But yeah, I love this. Of course, like, I saw a bunch of people saying that they're going to get the Sideshow Mythos statue because of scenes like this.
Oh, that's gonna fly off the shelf.
Yeah. And I remember
Mario's getting two. Yeah.
No doubt. Those play options, bro.
When that statue was announced, a lot of people were like, oh, I hope we see something like this in Kenobi. And I love it. I love it. It's so great. But this, Hugh McGregor killed it. God,
Yeah.
he was like the emotion involved and ending it with calling him Darth. And yeah, just I loved this. I think, was the series perfect? Absolutely not. Did this have a lot to do with like how I'm going to feel about this series whenever I think about it? Absolutely. It's one of those, like, you can kind of overlook some of the maybe writing choices for scenes like this. This is what I was expecting the entire series to be more like. So if we do get a second season, even though I think it's bookended pretty well between like a beginning and an end, I think if we do get a second season, it would be more of an introspective on Vader, as opposed to a focus on the relationship between Kenobi and Vader, which is what I always anticipated the show to be. But only time will tell if they decide to give us more time with Vader. I certainly hope so.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And the thing about this is like, I'm looking at it like when I saw this, and I'm like, yo, just imagine if, you know, I was the one who mutilated, you know, one of my best friends, and, you know, that hatred swells up, and I see them like this. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, like, it is gut wrenching, because you can only just imagine if things would have gone differently. You know, if we didn't have to, you know, fight to the death, like if I didn't have to almost take your life, you know, just living with that guilt for so long to get to this particular point, him saying sorry, you know. And I think that even though, and it could have been both ways, maybe he received it as if that was a way of him letting go of his guilt, but, you know, Anakin himself was like, nah, like, you can, you know, I don't want to give you that pleasure, but if you take it how you want, I know what I meant. You know what I mean? So, you know, because as we see, like, even going forward, how he says, you know, letting even Emperor, you know, Palpatine know that, you know, I only serve one master now. You know what I mean? So that's it. So, but yeah, it definitely is interesting. What did you feel about, you know, these scenes, like seeing, you know, that final blow, helmet split, revealing that it's Anakin, the conversation back and forth between him and Obi-Wan?
Yeah, it's sad to see what's underneath the mask, isn't it? And to hear him and look at him, and we all want to reach out and think that if we see his face, we can call him by his former name. But unfortunately, that's just not the reality here. And he doesn't want to be looked at as that other person. He wants to be looked at as somebody who's menacing and people are terrified of. So, you know, once it's revealed, once you crack open the case and you see what's in the inside, you know, I think it makes him very uncomfortable, because clearly he doesn't look as strong once you open up, the mask. He looks, you know, injured, damaged. I don't think anybody would guess that that's what's inside if you didn't already know what condition he was in. I don't know what people would think, but I certainly wouldn't think that I would find that inside. So, yeah, I hope that what they're implying is that he's happy with where he is right now. And when I say happy, that's where he wants to be right now, if you will. Yeah. You know, there's no like, hey, come back with me. No, like, that's not happening. So, you know, he'll wait for someone to come and pick him up. But yeah, that's the one thing that I think about. And, you know, I'm sure in his mind, when he goes back to get his suit repaired and all that sort of stuff, you know, someone earlier had said about how he has to defend the front of the unit that he's wearing his suit. And, you know, I guess it's just his reality for the rest of his life. He always has, that's the most vulnerable part. But yeah. And I think that Obi realized that as well, that was the most vulnerable part, and he probably figured it out, and knew he could probably just best him again, and which he did. But that look, you know, just, of course, everybody's going to call out to him saying Anakin. You can't help yourself. You want to call out and say Anakin. So, you know, and I don't know what I was expecting that would happen at this point. I think, you know, he wasn't going to say, yeah, you know, you're right, master. Like, that wasn't what's going to happen, but you want that to happen, I guess.
Definitely. So. Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, it was, again, beautiful scene, beautifully well executed, and the emotional beats here were incredible. Mario, I know, like I said, this is a scene that it's your boy, and you never want to see your boy taken out that way. But I mean, you knew it had to happen. It was coming to that point. What you think about it?
Got nothing to say, man. I'm still watching it. I'm watching it right now in the background as he was talking. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean, it's just what everyone's already like made amazing points, man. It's just all the emotion that just tied up in this scene is just it's incredibly gut wrenching. Just to see like y'all said, is his best friend, his brother, gone, truly gone this time. And Obi-Wan actually says that, now I know my friend is truly dead.
Yeah.
Similar to what Luke told Vader at the same time. He told Vader the same thing. I know my father is truly dead.
Yep.
And I think that begins all of that. I mean, you can play the tough guy all you want, man, but that's I think that's where the confliction started, Maybe after seeing Obi-Wan break down the way that he did, whatever, I think that's kind of like his downfall in a sense, or maybe somewhat the start of a redemption early on. But yeah, I loved it. It was amazing.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So great scene all around. And then we, of course, once he says, how he'll destroy Obi-Wan, we see Obi-Wan, just let him know that my friend is truly dead. And then he walks away. It was that haunting scream right here when, he screamed out Obi-Wan, and the juxtaposition between both voices. It was also mimicking Darth Maul basically it was incredible. Like, I mean, God, I love Star Wars, bro. Like, it's just like those things were definitely incredible at that point. We know that he wanted to strike, but he was just too weak at that point. Anakin, Obi-Wan had weakened him. So there was not much he could do at that point. Once again, not wanting to kill his friend, he just walks away. You know what I mean? So, that was incredible. Of course, we go back to Tatooine, where we actually see Reva in hot pursuit of Luke. And I was worried about this because one of the things is I didn't want him to be able to see that saber. You know what I mean? To know that, again, there are the Sith and the Jedi. That's one thing I didn't actually want. But then also, we see that scene where she's chasing Luke. Luke falls down the hill, and then he's actually knocked out at that point. Reva could, deliver the death blow, but then she, sees the flashbacks of her as a kid, laying there as a youngling. And then she also sees, again, the flashback of, Anakin. She's getting ready to strike, that frustration, that anger is in her. But then we also see that, Obi-Wan fills it, hyperspace back to Tatooine to try to run some interference. You see him land. He meets with Beru and Owen looking for Obi-Wan. He said he would actually check Owen and looking for Luke. He's talking to Beru and Owen, and he says he'll go out in the dune scene to look. Beru basically just notices that again, you see Reva bringing Luke. And then when you basically see for them watching the body just still as she's carrying it, it's like, oh, is he dead or did she kill? Of course we know that didn't happen, but just imagine what they're feeling at that point. She puts Luke's body down, for a moment. He's just, there's no movement. It looks like he's lifeless, but then we see him move. And then, both Clegg Lars and Beru actually go pick him up. And then, of course, he's okay. But then we see that conversation between Reva and, Obi-Wan, where she says she feels as though she's failed them. And he lets her know, no, you didn't fail them. You honored them. And now they are at peace. And then, of course, she says, have I become him? And she's like, he's like, no. And she's talking about, how she couldn't do it. And that's just letting us know that, that's the return to the light, redemption for her. And I did, and again, look, contrary to what everybody else says, and I'll just say it, and I'll be amongst the minority when I basically say that I loved her story. Could it have been told differently? Yes. Would it have gave it more, depth? If they would have told it differently, yes, we would have probably saw it from a different way. But I enjoyed what I got, and I love the emotional struggle between her and the flashbacks to when, she was a youngling and not being able to defend her family. But, she is where she is right now. She has a decision on whether or not she wants to move forth as an inquisitor, following the dark side, or does she want to, completely turn around and just follow the path of the light? Maybe just, really learn more about herself, her past, not, letting go of the past, learning about where she's going to go in the future. And, Obi-Wan just, letting her know that only you can make that choice. I love that conversation between the both of them at that point. I'll start with you, Mario. What did you think about it?
Yeah, man, this was the leaked rumor before the show even began. I don't know if anybody knew that. So.
Yeah.
And I didn't think this was gonna happen, but we saw the writing on the wall in the previous episode. I don't know, man. It's just Reva is. I hear what you're saying, and I just felt like her. I wish we would have seen her character, like I said before, more developed. I think we've all would have probably had more of a greater attachment to her. I think this redemption to the light, if she's like fully redeemed, I think it would have been more meaningful if that character was developed just a little bit more. If they just would have given her a little bit more time with that. And also at the same time, it's kind of hard to really be like, we all know Luke isn't dead either, so just kind of, no matter what kind of situation they put him in, because we know the next movies have to happen, we all know he's going to make it out, whatever. So I don't know. It kind of dilutes the whole thing for me just a little bit. You know what I mean? I hate to sound like that, but that's just how I kind of feel. I don't, I'm not trying to be negative. It's just that, that's just how I'm seeing it. Now I'm curious to know what's going to happen, next with Reva, as far as like, because she has a lot of information on her or with her right now. So is she just off in the galaxy knowing all of this? Does she get hunted down? I'm curious to know whether or not a spinoff is actually going to happen. Because now after seeing this, I'm more intrigued about her character now. I think I'd be a little bit more invested with her right now to see what happens next, because I'm really curious to see all of that stuff. But yeah, man, it was great to see Luke come back, all in.
Yeah.
I heard someone say that, this whole time when Obi-Wan had light speed on that ship, he couldn't just hit it and just avoided Vader altogether and just go back to Tatooine, or whatever. But anyway, yeah, man, it was cool. It was cool. It was a little, it was all right.
Got you. Hughes, what did you think about this, bro?
Yeah, I think like Mario said, I think she has, I think she got a bad, what's the saying? No one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, right?
Yeah.
And so I think she got a bad rap. She definitely was not my favorite character by any means. And I think at the beginning of the show, she was a bit more intriguing than she ended up being. So I like what they did with her story. I think we all kind of saw a redemption story in this at some point. So I like that they tied it back to that she was a youngling. And I like that, where she ended up, so, I think her story was a bit rushed. I'll say that. I think that she kind of went from I'm super duper evil to like 30-second conversation with Obi-Wan. And then it's like, I'm good now. Well, until she tried to kill Luke, yes. But so I think that would have benefited from a few more episodes or a few longer episodes. But I think they set her up for a spinoff, because I think they've already announced that, haven't they?
Not officially.
Not officially.
Officially, no.
So I think there's some room there. Maybe even she's just part of Obi-Wan season 2, and he's training her, in the ways of the Jedi versus the dark side. But I think it was a bit rushed, but I think ultimately, she had a lot of strong emotions. I think she, I think some people were sour on her acting maybe at the beginning. I think she kind of got better as the series went on. I'll say that. And yeah, so we'll see where she ends up, and where, you know, I hope we do have an Obi-Wan season 2, and she's in that, or she has her own spinoff or whatever, you know, what have you. But yeah, basically, I'm up for more Star Wars content. Any Star Wars content they'll give me, I'll consume. So, yeah, I think she got better as the series went on. I think, you know, they rushed some points a little bit that I wish they would have delved more into and spread out a little bit. But yeah, ultimately, I think Mario's right, you know, in that there's really no whatchamacallit, no suspense whether she was going to kill Luke or not. You know what I mean? You know, it would have been nice to have them do it to some other, maybe a different, maybe if Tala stayed alive or whatever, and whether she's going to go kill her or not, and she ultimately didn't, but to create some of that suspense. But yeah, ultimately, you know, I think where she ended up is at a good place. You know, there's some more meat on the bone, as John says, if you know, we want to see more with her, and if we end it here, you know, she's redeemed, and maybe she'll pop up in the next Calcastus video game. So we'll see. But I was okay with it, you know. So how where it ended for sure.
Definitely, you know, Leo, one thing I will say too is that Moses Ingram, she delivered a really, really great performance, man. When she broke down and just lost it, and how she couldn't get through
100%.
You know, so she was. I love that. You know, she pulled it
definitely.
off. That was great.
And that's the thing, is it's like, again, and I say this, you know, quite often, that, you know, an actor is given direction, they're not the director. An actor reads lines, they're not the writer. You know what I mean? So she's basically given direction by the director. She's given the lines that she's supposed to read. Like, Moses Ingram is an amazing actress. It's just that sometimes you can be an amazing actress, but when you're placed into a platform that you're unfamiliar with, and again, she knew nothing about Star Wars up until now. I think that if they would have, and here's the thing, it's like, if the way I view it, if I'm a writer, if I'm a director, and if I hire this actress, I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to make you do your homework. I'll probably sit there with you and explain everything. And I even think that maybe even somebody like Filoni could have just sat down with her the entire time, gave her the history, made her watch everything from the beginning and end, because they had time to do so, you know, and just so she can understand her place and give it the emotional beats that were needed at that point, you know, in certain points, so it would make sense. But I think that she was given what she was given. I mean, because again, it's not all about just one actor. It's all about directing as well. There were some patchy points in this show that, you know, you can see that the direction was like off. Like, where were you going with this? Like, come on, man. You got the rebellion and stormtroopers in the same proximity, like the size of my basement, and you mean to tell me nobody can get hit? Like, literally, come on, man. It just doesn't make sense. But it is what it is.
More the writing, though, dude, when it comes to like these TV shows. I mean, I think that the writing has more of a play with the director. Where the director has a lot more say so. When it comes to like an actual feature film.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like, I mean, you know, look, when you're, especially as a director, you know where your mark is. You know where you want to hit, what marks you need these actors to hit. And I'm not saying that Deborah Chow didn't do it. I mean, she's a phenomenal director, and she had to direct what she was given. But I mean, even then, if I'm looking at it in close proximity at that one scene, I'm gonna be like, wait a minute, hold up. We need some space. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe keep the hangar door open and fight from the outside on the inside. It makes more sense. You know what I mean? But it just, I mean, again, those things to me were a tad bit off. But again, you know, for what we got and what Moses was able to do, and even like I said, we see at the very end when she comes into her own and she gives it the emotional beats that struggle. We can see that even right here with these scenes. I did love that. But yeah, what did you think?
Well, I think it's probably at this point where I started to realize that this series would probably make an excellent film, because there's a lot of scenes that are in here that are kind of redundant and we don't need to see them again. Like, for example, you know, we already knew that that Ben got the message, and then we see the message again, right? You know, and she could have just discovered the message. And, you know, we didn't necessarily need to see it twice. And sometimes when things are arranged this way, you know, it loses its importance. So, you know, she could have just discovered it and found it, or even seen him watching it or something like that. It would have had a different feel to it. And I think, you know, a lot can be said of what we see, a lot of the parts in the series. So once someone goes in there and just kind of removes just some things that like, well, you don't absolutely have to have that in there, and make it more concise and have a better flow to it, this is going to look, the whole thing will look entirely different. But the way that it stands right now, you know, I don't think they did a good job with this character. And one of the things that really bothers me about it is that she needed to have that super close emotional bond with Darth Vader. And I wanted to see her kind of being groomed by him. And I think that would have been a much stronger bond. And she was up to the task for this, but they wanted her to be an Inquisitor that was competing with the other Inquisitors in that way. And I think she's a little different. I think she's more special than that. I think she was a very talented, you know, Padawan that was in the temple. And that would have been somebody that Vader would have gravitated to and said, I need her. I'm going to groom her, and she's going to be part of my special elite team. And yes, maybe an Inquisitor or whatever title. But, you know, there were even parts where I thought to myself, there should be a scene where Vader, and I probably said this already, so I'm sorry, guys, I'm repeating myself, where Vader puts his hands on her shoulders, like what he did with Leia, where he's kind of like, you know, has that influence over her, or that closeness where, you know, they are on the sort of like on the same page. And I almost think that they would have had to be that close, because she is a powerful Jedi. She's not, or Sith. She's not, you know, incompetent. She's certainly capable of doing, you know, the job. But I have a feeling that if she was shown to have been favored by Vader, which I actually believe to be true, but we haven't seen in this series. And that's why the other Inquisitors don't like her, is because, you know, he kind of likes her. And of course you like her, you know, she's, you know, he's like, I know I can, she'll do my bidding. But then, you know, let's say after a few years, she starts to realize that this is, you know, maybe not the path she wants to go down. And by the time she gets to this point in the story where we see her going to Tatooine, and I did say this earlier, I said this earlier, she's not fully deciding what she's going to do. I mean, she's doing these actions. She's physically there. And, you know, and there's the chase with Luke and everything, but it didn't seem like her heart was in that, which is fine. Like, you know, I'm kind of glad her heart was not in this. We don't want anyone to get hurt, but it was almost like she showed up there and it was like a cry for help versus, you know, I'm going to really hurt anybody. You know, it was like, well, how do I even introduce myself to these people? Oh, let me just go in there and, you know, I'm going to make my presence known. Well, I guess what, everybody in Tatooine knew who she was. So it's not like she could kind of just show up and be like, hey, hi, I know you remember me from before. I'm the person that cut off that person's hand. You know, she couldn't do that. You know, in other words, let's say they didn't even have that scene, and that wouldn't even have been an issue. And she would have been able to go back to Tatooine. You know, you get what I'm saying? So, if that scene where the hand cutting wasn't there, she could just be kind of intimidating, but that would definitely scare a lot of people from her. Or even the part where we saw the poor Jedi guy in the beginning who gets killed, that wasn't even necessary. We knew she was menacing. We knew, you know, she was scary and everything. So there were certain things that I think that, you know, kind of tore you away from what her actual motivation was. And you know, while it's true she was hunting that Jedi or other Jedi, her main motivation was in another direction. And I think that if we had that focus where let's say if Ben was going to interrupt this process somehow, which he did, right? He interrupted the process a bit because he forced the confrontation between her and Vader a little bit sooner rather than what it would have happened. And that was the goal, right? You know, she wanted Ben to kind of draw Vader out in the open, if you will, make him vulnerable. You know, maybe you don't see him outside that much because, you know, Vader keeps to himself. You know, this is the situation. And even when she does see him, it's an honor to see you. Well, she probably doesn't see him that much, but it would have been very interesting if early on he had that attachment to her. She was groomed by him. Later on, maybe she's not that close to him anymore, and it's a conflict wondering where she stands with him, but she is with a dark force user. Ben comes into the picture. She feels that he can bridge that gap and make her be more important in Vader's eyes, which I guess kind of did happen, but we didn't really see all that stuff. And then when Ben interrupts that, and realizes what she's doing, she is really in a very awkward position now. At that point, she's deciding well, okay, am I going to confront the goat? I can't really do that. And so that part is very, I'm not quite sure of what it would have went down in that way. I think she would have just left or escaped or something. Maybe grabbed Tala on the way out of there. And then if there was some kind of final confrontation in another way, we would see her. But, I almost feel like her story might have or could have ended there in the next season when we would see her again. Then she could see Ben, let's say hypothetically, and that would have made her character arc a little bit stronger than necessarily seeing this part, which is nice. This is a nice part. It's okay. But, I think that she deserved more, character development for me. And I think that she needs more character development. So we know, what she truly is like. So, and I'm sure they filmed it. I'm sure it's somewhere. Somebody has that footage.
Yeah.
And they just did not put it in this. But also, if you did take the series and cut it down to a movie, like maybe a 2-hour film, it would feel very different. And there wouldn't be all these sort of gaps and things that, kind of, you're like, it's so stretchy. And definitely put the final fight between Vader and Obi together and not break that up. And then if we get this scene, if they wanted to include a scene like this, let her actually just go to the planet and not chase Luke. Let her just kind of like be there. And it's like, well, what do you want? What do you want? And Ben will be like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here. Ben will be like, it's okay. What is it? And then they could be some kind of reconciliation that way. But I think like that chase with Luke was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So those are just some thoughts. I mean, I think that what I'm saying, it might be something they had decided against or not decided against. But when we're looking at these characters, she's a major character now. So this isn't like a side character anymore. So give her that due so we can get a major character and learn more about her. Because I want to know more. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm like, well, I'm wondering, no, I want to know what exactly, is making her tick. And what she could possibly do in the future. And she must have some advantage because she was with the dark side for so long. There has to be some cards that she can play.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I mean, in so many aspects, I just think that with to make a character interesting, like I said, you have to create that mystery around them. Where it's not the focus, being that they gave too much focus to her, the focus was on her. It was just, in a sense, it kind of took away from that, the concept of wanting to know who she was as a character, or wanting to know her past, because you were giving us everything. If you would have kind of created that level, like for instance, right now, there's so little that we know about Grogu as a character. So little. We were given hints. Like we know certain things about, we know he's a Force user. We know he was a youngling, but we still don't know who the fuck saved him. Like we have no idea. We have no idea like where, again, they said that, there were points of his past that, she could see. Ahsoka says she could see, but then it goes dark. So maybe he was around a dark side Force user at one point. Who taught him how to Force choke, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So again, like we were asking those questions because there was so little that we know about that character. When you're giving us so much of her, you're giving us so much of her, in a story that's not really fully fleshed out, you're taking away from just wanting us to know more about her. And I think that if it was an intentional thing, whereas, I just think that they could have did better with, giving us this character and giving us more of a backstory. It would have worked. It would have definitely worked out a bit better. Hopefully, who knows what we're going to see? We know she's alive. She's still there. So who knows where, we're going to actually take her. Cece, did we talk to you yet? Because I wanted to get to you, get your thoughts up until this point, of what you thought about everything for right now.
I think I echo everything that everyone else has said. So I think now that the series is over, I could appreciate her overall story, but I do think, like I think I said this last week, that her redemption arc seemed very rushed. That like she was too much of a badass, kind of like murderous inquisitor for the longest time, that it seemed very like, wait, what? Like now all of a sudden she wants to kill Vader, and like Obi-Wan knows this, and now like that doesn't fit with anything that we've known of her. So I do think that it's a shame, because like my other complaint with the show is that they spent a lot of time on her and the story and not enough time with like with Vader and Obi-Wan. So it's almost like both of them got gypped, right? I would have preferred more time with Vader and Kenobi, and then maybe like either just it. I mean, this might be like a hot take, but her redemption story to me kind of reminded me of Daenerys in Game of Thrones, where it's like, wait, what? Like you did not give us enough hints
Suddenly.
that she was gonna lose her mind at the end.
Go that route, yeah.
For this, it's like you didn't give us enough hints that there was something worth, like there was a little bit of good in her, like, you know, like Vader's story with him being, you know, able to finally redeem himself towards the end. So yeah, I think it would be interesting if they did, of course, another season that involves her and like maybe the kind of guilt she might have for the fact that she was an Inquisitor for so long. But I think that's what's kind of difficult for me to grasp, is she was an Inquisitor for so long, and then the going after Vader and like wanting to avenge or like, you know, avenge her fallen Padawans seemed out of left field. Like that's something that probably should have happened over like the course of 2 seasons, not 6 episodes. But I've also heard that as well, that the formulaic 6-episode season is not the best choice for Disney Plus, that this should have been 10 to 12 episodes easy.
So the 6-episode thing with that, it's just like, come on, man. It doesn't work. And I hope they realize that it does not work. How many episodes of Mando that we get? We got like what, 8, 12? What do we get? We got a couple.
At least
8.
10 and 8 or something.
10 and 8. So we've gotten so many episodes. Why are they sticking with this 6-episode format? It does not work. Like if you're doing this because of scheduling, like that's the thing that irks me the most, is you keep sticking to that. And especially for a character as important as both Vader characters, like Vader and Obi-Wan. You can't tell that story in 6 episodes.
If the 6 episodes were all an hour and 20 minutes each, That'd be okay different. With it. But
that'd be different.
Not 6 30-minute episodes. You know?
To Artem's point, I mean, that easily could have been a movie. I mean, whether it be like a 2-part in a 2-hour movie or something.
Well,
it would have been way more tighter.
I think I saw a rumor or something that actually they were going to do that. It's like congest all of the episodes and turn it into a movie, and maybe even release it in theaters, where someone could go in for like 2.5 hours and see everything that we just saw over the span of 6 episodes. Of course, I will say one thing about this scene, or 2 things about this scene, and I think, you know,
that's what I was getting to. I'm gonna let you speak on that one, because like I said again, we get to this scene where we see Vader in his throne room. I mean, come on, if you can give us Boba on a throne,
well, that's
you can give us Vader on a throne.
If anyone's seen me like looking down a lot, it's because I have 2 jobs and they're both blowing up my phone. But also, I was double checking to see if I heard of any chatter about a custom statue maker making this as a statue. And I think I don't know if it's going to happen. I think I'm going to try my best to convince some people that should happen. I think too, like the throne pose, it's very I don't want to say overdone, because it's my favorite pose, but I do want it, regardless of the fact that it's Vader, which is a very overdone subject when it comes to statues, and also a throne pose, which is also another really overdone pose. But I think what I really liked about the scene was that it very much, to me, explains why, to a lot of people's frustration, mine included, that Vader never went after Obi-Wan after this, knowing that he was alive. I think that would have been a sign of weakness in Palpatine's eyes. That meant that he still harbored some sort of feelings towards Obi-Wan, whether it be the need for revenge, or to like kill his past, kind of like i.e. Kylo Ren, like kill your past if you have to, like kind of thing. So I think that even trying to kill Obi-Wan, his previous master, would have been a sign to Palpatine that there's some still good in him if he knows that he wants to get rid of Obi-Wan in order to keep staying on the dark side, if that makes sense. I'm not articulating this very well, but I think it's kind of like closing a book on a chapter, like not pursuing Obi-Wan is closing the book on the chapter of your life that was you being a Jedi and being his Padawan, basically.
Yeah.
So I love this scene.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say this is the first time that we see Darth Vader from the OT right here, because he basically says, you should probably stop chasing Obi-Wan, basically fully, submitting him to the dark side. And I know this is 10 years later and he's been doing it, but obviously if he's having the Inquisitor search for Obi-Wan, something's there. So I think this is really the last time, this is, when we see Darth Vader for the trilogy. Anakin is definitely fully gone. Yeah. And, that's it. So this is a turning point for Darth Vader for sure.
Yeah. Like he's fully embracing, the dark side, also embracing the simple fact that he only does serve one master at this point. So he has to give up that point of it. You know what I mean? Because in the Emperor's eyes, I guess, it is a sign of weakness. Like, you're not, the focus is, where our focus should be, you know what I mean, is the simple fact that we are empire, reestablishing our order, the order throughout the entire galaxy, letting them know that, we are in control. But you're focusing on one individual, you know what I mean? It's just like, what does that say? You know what I mean? Am I not your master? Are you not serving me? Like, yeah, so it did put a lot on that. I love this throne room scene. I definitely did. And we knew Palpatine was gonna show up at least one time. You can't get past that. Mario, what did you think about this, bro?
No, exactly the same. I mean, this was it was a surprise, to be honest. I mean, like, again, I think we did all expect to see him, but I was still surprised, nonetheless. But yeah, Sean, that was a great point. How this is where we see Vader basically, I don't want to say I guess reborn in a sense, where he's committing himself to the full darkness. But the thing is that even Palpatine sees that the conflict is there, with him. But I would love to see more of like Palpatine. I guess put Vader through some trials just to see where his commitment is at, in a sense, to like torture him and just make sure, just to see where his commitment is. To be honest, I would love to see more stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm really intrigued.
And we got like hints of that, in the lore. You know what I mean? But again, it's not something that we can actually see, played out. I guess they want to, go through in live action. But I mean, me myself, I would love to have. But here's the thing. I don't want to say this. I want to say it this way. I don't want to see a Vader series. I would want to see possibly a Vader film. Where I mean, come on, man, like having like, the antagonist or, something like this, having somebody, seeing it from his perspective, seeing the galaxy from his perspective, make him evil. You don't have to basically change his, who he is, but just seeing that version of him would be dope if it's done right. I don't trust the handling of him in a series. Disney's shown me what they've done in a series so far for a character as important. Two characters, one Obi-Wan, two being Boba Fett. Like what you've done with these characters at some point. I just, even though I enjoy it, it's just certain things I'm like, come on, man, we got it.
What we've seen, to their credit, what we've seen of Vader, I think all of us can say that none of us are disappointed.
No, and not, but it's just that if the mismanagement and mishandling of a quintessential character, an important character like Obi-Wan, imagine what they would do to a character like Vader. You know what I mean? If it was an entire show dedicated to him. I'm not saying that we can't, I love what we got from Vader. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, how would I want to see him? Would I want to see him as in a television show on a film? Like, what would make more sense? And on top of that, would I want to see either? Would I want an oversaturation of him right now? You know what I mean? To the point where it just dulls it out. Maybe I don't.
Too much of a good thing.
Exactly. Too much of a good thing. So I don't know.
Also, if you saw the alarm on my face where I went like this, listening to you, that's just because I didn't know if you were going to finish the sentence. I thought you were going to be like, I don't want a Vader series. I don't want, like, I'm over Vader. I was going to be like, ooh, what?
No. I'm just saying, like, he's such an important character, important to the culture, is that you want it done right. You want it done absolutely right. And right now, it's just like, you'd be iffy on both parts to see, can they pull off an actual series? Can they pull off a film? That's something like I would want to see them flesh out over a couple of years and say, okay, we'll give it to you now because we got it right. Yeah, and we feel as though we've got it right and we've taken our time to do it. But again, we know that, Kathleen Kennedy said that they don't want to go back and do anything, they don't want to focus on OT characters like that again. So you already know that's but anyway, how do you, we get to this, I want to kind of fast forward a little in the interest of time. We get to this scene. Of course, we see Vader with Palpatine. We see the conversation between them both. We then, we get to Alderaan. We see young Leia getting herself prepped and ready. And I don't care. Like, high note for me, like literally when I say MVP of this show, to me, was her acting. I loved her. I was in love with her from the very beginning because she's such an adorable kid. And to pull off that and to have the strength to do this and just have like so much character, so much depth. And I think Carrie Fisher, if she was alive, she would really embrace this kid because she did such a great job. I loved her. I really did love her. But yeah, we see her on Alderaan, and she's, look how cute she is, bro. She's adorable. She's so adorable. But we see her there. We see basically that Obi-Wan arrives back to return Lola to her. Also, to that exchange between both, him and Bell. Bell lets him know that the Empire is getting stronger by the day. Obi-Wan lets him know, well, look, you know where to find me. If you need me, I'm there. Letting him know that, OG's back. I'm back in rare form. We basically see him, talking to Leia. And this part was important because of what he said. You can't let everybody know about our relationship, which kind of speaks to why in A New Hope she acted the way she did. So that was very important. So I loved that part and that conversation between them. We get that. We can see the emotional beats between the both. Look at his face, man. Like,
dude, this part got me in the feels hard, man.
Yeah,
when he was describing, when he was describing the attributes that she received from both her mom and her dad, I was like, yo, that I think that kind of punched me harder than Vader and Anakin and Obi-Wan, man. I mean that got me, dude.
Yeah, it did because it's true. Like, see, I get this show doing what they did and the focus was on Leia and not on Luke because we discovered Luke's story. We discover him, the farm boy, and what we learned about him. But the focus was on more so her and seeing her life on Alderaan and knowing that between the two at this particular point, she's the stronger one. You know what I mean? And I get why the focus was here and why he, said what he said, to her. What did you think about like their relationship and up until this point and what we got, from this particular scene and the conversation that they had?
Well, some of the parts that I liked the best were the scenes between the two of them, for example, and I did mention this earlier too, the scene where she asks him if he's her real father, like that. Really, I was just like, yes, like when I heard that. And then there's another part where I guess they were separated and then they got reunited. And then after they were reunited, he's holding her hand. And I kind of like that part too. I mean, nothing. There were no words in the scene, but I just like that he was holding her hand. So there were a lot of really kind of very sweet moments that, for me, that was like some of the best parts of the series because you got to see those, those very important moments between the two of them. And It was really kind of nice to see that exchange between him. And I really haven't seen Obi-Wan show affection towards anybody in that way before. And I'm sure he must have shown some affection to Anakin. It's just that we haven't seen it. We haven't seen him like saying, "Come here, Anakin," or giving him a hug, or I don't even know what exactly or how things went down because Anakin was so young, right?
Yeah.
And he, I don't know how old Obi was, when 19 or something. But my point being that, I wonder, since she's not a Jedi, he could be affectionate with her. I mean, I don't know if they say, "Oh, don't show open affection," or, in the display out. So maybe that's what he had to do to keep that at bay. But he doesn't have to keep it at bay with Leia. So we see those, kind of like really sweet moments between the two of them. And those were the things that, for me, at least, for these two characters, meant the most to me, and definitely grabbed my attention. And I thought that conversation that he had with Leia continued. We didn't have access to it, but I'm sure she also said, "Do you know who my father was?" My mother was, And I'm sure he said, "Yes, I know who your mom was. She was a lovely woman." And then, of course, he's talking more about her mother there. And this is just a continuation of the same conversation that they had. We just didn't see all the details. But all those things you think they would have covered in that, dusty, trip on the dusty road, wherever they were, were things that we wanted to hear. I wanted to see moments like that between them. In addition to fighting scenes, I wanted to see this kind of stuff that only at certain moments would you feel comfortable asking somebody something like this. She can't just go up to him and ask him that anytime. It has to be at the right time. And in the episode, I think they did show things like that at the right time.
Definitely they did. So I did love they use. What you think about up until this point? I mean, because we've arrived on all the round. We see basically the future going forward. We know what happens in A New Hope. We know that's the next time we actually see, or we even hear at that point, Obi-Wan, out the mouth of Leia, at that point, we know that, that's when things kind of kick into gear, and we, know that she's now, more of an adult. She's still young, but still more of an adult. And, we know that she had that strength when she was young, but we now understand why she is the way she is in A New Hope. What you think about this? I mean, just with the quality, the relationship and the conversation that we had at this point.
I loved it. I mean, I think, we've all said it here time and time again that the casting on little Leia was pretty damn perfect. She definitely embodies Carrie Fisher's sort of, wittiness and everything that made her great. I think that it's cute to see them interact together, that she really does see Obi-Wan as a protector now, versus at the beginning he's an old guy, she doesn't know who she is and who he is and all that stuff, and then grew to not maybe not a father figure, but definitely like a protector and someone that she could trust. I think Rita mentioned something about showing affection. You really haven't seen Obi-Wan show affection since Empress Satine. So this is kind of the next time we see that, and you see that. You don't really see that in the prequels, except for he definitely loved Padme, like a but really never showed it. Loved her like family, like a daughter type deal. So, and you see kind of more of that in Clone Wars and stuff like that. So it's great to see again, sexy ass Ewan killing it with his acting and everything. So so I loved it. It's great to see little Leia become, who will become the Leia that we've grown up to love and all that. So it's great.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited about that. So going forward real quick, like I said, we're going to, in the interest of time, we see him off of, leaving Leia behind. They watch as he departs. We see him back on Tatooine. And here's the I want to go to the sexy part. So, we can hear CC. Here we go. There you go, CC. There go your Jesus moment. There go your Jesus moment, CC. There he goes in the flesh in his white garb. There you can go. You can feel it now, can't you?
Well, especially the hello there. Like, let's pretend he's not saying that to a child. Like, this just
here we go. We
also
definitely
not to the everything he's wearing, including the goggles. So that has the OG Mythos statue, and said it looks
definitely
identical to that.
I wonder if that sideshow 6L figure is going to fly off the shelf after this, man.
Definitely.
And then also was it Star Wars 25 cover? He's Obi-Wan's on the cover and he's wearing the same thing. Don't quote me on the number. I don't remember if it was exactly Star Wars issue number 25, but I thought that was a really cool nod that they borrowed his look from the comic too.
Yeah, he's just like right here. He's just saying, "CC, look at me."
I could probably watch the entire series on mute and still enjoy myself, just because. Yeah.
Just because of
him. Yeah. So long as
Stop it, Mario. Stop it, Mario. Stop.
Nah, I mean,
I heard you
think,
go.
I'm just getting visuals of CC and what's possibly going to be. Anyway,
stop it. Go ahead.
No, I think they mentioned that the producers actually used the Sideshow Mythos piece.
Wow.
For inspiration for this thing. And it's the exact same thing, minus a backpack. So I'm sure either Hot Toys is going to come out with a new one. Hopefully we'll see another statue like this too, CC. I mean, I know the original was hella dope, but I wouldn't mind an updated one with
I honestly that might be where I put my foot down a little bit. Like, I know there was a lot of contentious talk about like the OG Vader Mythos statue and the new one. I like the new one. I don't like the old one. And then this one, like, I think that's a big ask, in my opinion. I've never heard a bad word about the original Obi-Wan. And they had the Alec Guinness head sculpt and then the kind of blend between Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness, which made it perfect and very in line with this series. So I really don't know if they would feel the need to do another one, or if that other one would top the original, quite frankly.
Or what if it comes out from another studio? That's the next thing too. I mean, not Sideshow in particular, but what if we got something from XM? They got some Star Wars stuff too, so it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see some sort of fan art. I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Could possibly see it. But yeah, right here I definitely see the conversation between Owen. He lets Owen know that he was right. He needs to become a boy. He needs to grow up as a boy first, and then he has to make that choice. Knowing we already know what's going to actually happen down the road, but he goes to walk away. Owen says, "Do you want to meet him?" And then we get that infamous, he goes up to Luke and says, "Hello there."
No. Give us a better impression, man. I'm not gonna let you get away with that. Come on,
I
can't.
Bro. I can't do that. I can't. You can do it. Can't you do it, bro?
Let's see, Sean.
Go ahead, Sean.
Do hello there.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. See, now you sound good. So there you go.
Okay,
I can't do it.
Take two. Give them full frame. Clear your throat. Make the face and all that, dude. Come on.
I'm busy. I gotta go over here. Sorry.
This guy. Now he's suddenly shy.
But no, I like that, man. I mean, we got that. But I think the biggest thing that we've been waiting to see the entire time, a lot of us wanted to see at this point. And we waited and we finally got it. If it pops up, there we go.
There we go.
There we go. We got your boy who lied the entire time. He said he wasn't contacted, that he didn't know anything of the show was beneath. And here we go. We got the man, Qui-Gon Jinn, in the building, letting him know. Yeah.
This is kind of a big deal, considering the last time we heard from Qui-Gon, he told Yoda that he wasn't able to manifest himself in physical form yet.
Yeah.
His training had not been complete.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here he is.
This is letting me know that, I guess at this point, his training was complete. And
anybody?
Yeah. I guess we can say like his training, but at the same time, maybe he's manifesting himself, saying that both of them they each have a lot more to learn together. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, and again, maybe the push for him to finish his training was the simple fact that he knew that at some point Obi-Wan was going to need him. But he had to watch, he had to allow, just like Obi-Wan did to Luke, you have to take your journey first. There's certain things I can't interfere on. And that's just the way it was. But it was just beautiful to see this. And when he says that I've been here the entire time, you just weren't ready to see. I love that, bro. I love that line because that just speaks volumes. But I was so happy to see it. Happy to see my boy Qui-Gon back. Liam Neeson, you lying motherfucker. But so happy to basically see him here. I was definitely excited about this for real. What did you think about it when you finally saw him?
I thought we all knew he was going to show up. Did we think he wasn't going to show up? And
the way at the pace the show was going, I had no idea because it kept seeming like it was going to end at certain points. So I had no idea. I was like, I wanted to see it, but I didn't know.
I didn't think we'd actually see him. I was just more under the impression that we would probably hear his voice.
Yeah.
Well, he called it out to him in one of the episodes, right? Did
Obi-Wan specifically?
Well, it sounded like he did on the ship. Now I could have been wrong, but it definitely did sound like he called out to him on the ship to let him know that there was danger ahead. But maybe I was wrong. I don't know. I got to go back and watch that episode. It was episode 5. And I got to go back and listen to that because I could have swore I heard his voice. But let me go back and check it out. When we say the episode, he really let go seeing Qui-Gon or whatever.
Episode 5. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to that it meant that we would see Qui-Gon, and so I wasn't surprised to see Qui-Gon. But I hope we get more of seeing, of course, the Qui-Gon and Ben together, because
he said no, not wrong.
It would be fun to see this whole thing that they're going to go through, learn more about the Force and stuff like that. It would be kind of cool. So that should be pretty. I'm looking forward to that part.
Yeah, definitely excited about it. Hughes, what did you think when you saw it, man? Were you happy? Finally got a chance to see our guy.
Of course,
Qui-Gon,
man. I'm never going to turn down an excuse to see Qui-Gon. I think he definitely, his last line left it open for a season 2. It was great to see him. I figured we were going to see him at some point. If anything, he might have been a teaser, like how the Book of Boba Fett was a teaser at the end of season 2 Mando. Maybe this would have been like a end scene, and it kind of was. I mean, it wasn't a after credit scene, but it was the last scene of the show, basically. So, I thought it was cool. I thought it was, they were building up to it. I thought he looked good. As far as he goes. So definitely happy to see him. And I'm glad I have the figure. I'll say that with how expensive he is now.
Did it start to skyrocket?
You know it. We'll see. I don't know, but I think it will. I think it's definitely skyrocketing on the second, third party market, stuff like that. You already know it's there. The secondary market is going up, and it's bound to go up and even more. But CC, I know, like I said, this isn't the Jesus moment that you wanted. But I mean, you're not gonna call him, but he does look Jesus-like at this point. Yeah, I know you wanted to swap roles and see more of a Obi-Wan, but I mean, come on, man.
I think we knew this scene was coming, like from the beginning. I had no doubts that we wouldn't see him, just because they showed Obi-Wan trying to reach out to him at least twice, I want to say. So I think it kind of like, that's where I'm curious if they are going to do a second season, because it does seem kind of like wrapped up in a nice little bow, in that we saw him struggling to contact Qui-Gon, and then now you see that he is able to talk to Qui-Gon, and also not only that, he's kind of relaxed in that he doesn't want to train Luke on how to be a Jedi or how to, hide his abilities. If anything, he's moving further away from the homestead. Like, he feels more comfortable just being kind of like a distant observer, as opposed to like being there out every day with the binoculars kind of situation. So I think that was like, it made sense that this was the perfect time that that turmoil had settled for Qui-Gon to show himself to Obi-Wan. That's my only thing with this, is like, I like this scene, but it definitely felt a little finite to me, where I don't know if we're going to get another season where we're going to see these two interacting together, or if it was just like a kind of like a bit of closure for us, knowing that Obi-Wan is not alone anymore.
Yeah, true. I can exactly see what you're saying on this. I don't know. I mean, it was a way to end it. I was kind of happy with, seeing that. This episode, all in all, like I said, it to me, and then actually seeing them out in the Dune Sea, going to and it's basically the same space and the same canyon where we actually seen Anakin, with the pod race. I love seeing that. Like,
Was that Beggar's Canyon?
Yeah, that's the canyon. And she basically said that they did that to kind of like as a callback to where, Anakin's journey began and ended, like a last callback to it. So a beautiful moment to me, to see that, play out, and to see him just kind of walking through, and to close it out. Again, I get what you're saying, CC. Like, definitely, like you give us this true indeed, but it's like, okay, where do we go from there? You know what I mean? Like, are we going to see another season, or, knowing what we know, it's like now we know that he can commune with Qui-Gon. We see this in live action. We're going to obviously want more. So I guess we just got to kind of wait and see, I guess, what they're going to say. I hope they've learned, from this season. All in all, like, I really hope that it's one of those situations where they've learned, that, again, the primary focus should have actually been on, the main characters at this point, Vader, Anakin, you know what I mean? That relationship. I even wanted to see more of Peru and Owen. I felt as though I wanted to see both of them even more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And, it would have made sense, like, just to kind of see something like that. So, definitely, like I said, again, my intake, look, the season could have been better. We already know that. Did I enjoy certain things about it? Yeah, I enjoyed a lot about this season. But again, it's just like, Mario, I think you called it in the very beginning where they made the announcement that they were going to show both episode 1 and 2 on the same day. I think there was a bit of skepticism because we were like, okay, like, are they rushing this? Like, I mean, knowing that they're showing 2 episodes, we only have, mainly 4 episodes left, at that point.
There's so much to wrap in there. And
there was so much to wrap. And we talked about it the first, when we watched it at the hotel in Cali, like, we were like, yo, that's a lot. Like, you're stopping it right here. Like, what are we going to see after this, man? I don't know.
And that's what was disappointing about the second episode, because it seems so empty, like not much happened. And the third episode was kind of repetitive of that too, So I think the second and third episode, I think they could have been merged, really been tightened up if that was like one longer episode, like at least an hour.
Yeah,
I think that would have been much better.
Yeah, it definitely made more sense, man. I would have loved to see that. But again, all in all, I mean, here's the thing: is like I look at it, I'm like, Mando is so strong. It's strong, and you can sell the focus. The writing is on that. They make sure, you know what I mean. It's like Favreau's like, oh, that's my baby. You ain't fucking my shit up. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna make sure that the writing on my shit is gonna be on point. Y'all do what y'all, but on my shit, is going to be on point. But I mean, it's again, I want that same focus and concentration on all the different shows. You know what I mean? Give us that. You know what I mean? It's so rich. We didn't like literally. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but there was no divisiveness when it came to Mando at all. At least that I didn't hear. There might have been some, but it was muted. It wasn't as loud. You know what I mean?
Real quick, DC, issue 15.
15. Okay,
that's
sorry.
Right there, yeah.
There you go.
That's it. Right there. This is what I wanted to see, because there was some good shit in this story here, in which the back and forth between Obi-Wan and Owen. I think this series could have benefited from that. Like you mentioned before, you want to see more of the Lars family. More back and forth. I mean, if they would have probably given us a couple more episodes, I think we probably would have been more content.
Definitely. But anyway, man, I don't know. Any last thoughts? Any final thoughts from everybody about this season? Anybody want to interject and come in and give their thoughts on it?
I'll say something. I think you mentioned it earlier, and I think it's a sentiment that I've heard that Disney or Kathleen Kennedy is ruining OT characters. And I wholeheartedly agree about Boba Fett. I think that the direction that they took his character totally did not do his did his ESB ness that made him super cool a disservice.
Mhm.
But for Obi-Wan, I think that they were true to him as a character in that they started with him as like a broken man, then over Leia, spending time with Leia, kind of getting his humanity back and with the Force back, getting his heroicness back, and then ultimately becoming the Jedi that we see in Episode 4. So I think as far as him goes and Vader goes, they were true to their characters for the most part. I mean, we could argue Vader not killing Reva and all this stuff. Sure, I get that, and I'll agree with that. But I think where they went wrong, I think, like you said, with this show was not giving them, focusing too much on Reva and the other side characters, not spending more time with Obi-Wan and Vader. And so that's definitely the criticism I have with the show. Overall, I loved it. I thought it was great. Miles better than Book of Boba.
Yeah.
Mando, I think, is still the gold tier, but I think that this, really filled in. It wasn't so much universe expanding and universe building like Mando is. Like, they're building the whole thing with him and Grogu and all that stuff. This is filling in a very small gap, and making and filling in some character details of Obi-Wan and Vader that we've never seen before, that we knew was kind of there, but we're filling that in. So I think it filled that role, but it definitely could have been better. So as far as the sentiment of it ruins the character or doesn't do its service, I think they did Obi-Wan and Vader well, but they could have done it. The show overall, the pacing, everything like that better. So I enjoyed it. If we get a second season, I don't know what it'll be about, but I hope we do, just because, again, like I said earlier, more Star Wars is better. So
hell yeah,
we'll go with that. So
just hope that they learn from the first season and they kind of listen to certain things and just like see how polarizing the diverse, like just like the divisiveness was. And just try to bring it all in a way that, but I mean, you could take notes. I mean, because a lot of opinions, which is what changes things, and it can actually force better writing, a better, vantage point of how we view these things. So, I mean, I just hope they're listening. Anybody else?
I don't think there's going to be a season 2. I think they're just going to go ahead and leave it where it's at. I thought overall the series was, I'm a little disappointed. Just because in the writing and the pacing, like Sean said. But I didn't hate it. Didn't hate it. Didn't love it. I did enjoy it. It was a fun ride. It definitely had its high moments, but there were a lot of, there were a lot of low moments, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like disappointing to see the lack of the development, within, especially how much time they spent with Reva.
Yeah.
I think they I've said it many times. So I wish they would have developed her character a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that by the end we can all like really feel that we could be with her in that attachment and all that.
Definitely.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'll probably go back and give it another binge, maybe sometime soon.
I binged it like yesterday, the entire season. I just wanted, because I wanted to see the whole thing play out, so it just made more sense to do it that way. So yeah. CC, anything? You got anything? No.
I mean, I think. Oh God, what did I think out of 10, I gave the series an overall 8, I want to say. But also, like, I think you could talk as much shit as you want about Disney. I think the one thing that they haven't screwed up is Vader. Yet. Like, I don't want to give them the rope to, like, hang themselves with that. But I think that there's no scenes of him that I didn't appreciate or thought was strange or out of character or the writing was off. So, I mean, I think I had high expectations of this series because of Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen coming back, but I'm not angry about it, obviously, like the Book of Boba Fett. And I do want to binge watch it and see if my opinion changes, but I'm still glad it happened. I'm thankful for like any Star Wars content we get. Quite honestly, I just think it's really easy. It's funny. Like, I've seen those memes where it's like Star Wars fans and like fighting.
Yeah.
I think it's just really easy with like the Book of Boba Fett to always go to like a negative space, because I think most people, the majority of people, were really let down by that, and didn't want to see it repeated. I don't think that they repeat it with this. I think that this series makes me even more hopeful for the future, whether it be Andor, like other series
Yeah.
see that don't involve original trilogy characters, because I think either the fans or also Disney are like, you know what, let's go away from the original trilogy characters if like the backlash is that we don't know how to do them very well, or that people have these are like really cherished characters. Like I am to Vader what Steve at Rogue One 6 is to Obi-Wan. I know he wasn't happy with this series. So I could totally understand that from that perspective. But yeah, I think this was I'm happy with the series, and I'm looking forward to when I have a chance to binge watch all of them all in one sitting.
Yeah. That's I think, I mean, yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, is like, yeah, you're right. They didn't do, I don't think they didn't do Vader or Obi-Wan wrong. I love both of them's journey. You know what I mean? Neither one of them I thought they did wrong at all. I love the conflict with Hugh McGregor from the beginning, from the first episode to the end, played the character exactly the way I thought he should have played it. You know what I mean? Showing that conflict, showing that nomad version of who he is until he got to this particular point. And I wanted to see that. You know, I think we needed to kind of see that. You know, the importance was not to see a polished Jedi, but just a broken man. You know what I mean? And it humanized him a lot. And that's what I loved about it. I love that connection between, it was like an awakeness between him and episode 2, between him and Vader. It was like, wow. Like, or was that episode 3? I think it was episode.
It was 3.
Was it 3? It was episode 3. That awakened scene. Like, I was like, wow, that was incredible. Or was it episode 2?
It was the end of 2.
It was the end of 2. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so just like how it would awaken, how like just boom, you saw that. I thought that was important, and that was incredible. So yeah, I those characters definitely have no problems with. And I think you're right. Boba Fett was the one show that people were like, oh please no, let's not, come on, like it's like one character that we love. I mean, and I'm a huge Boba Fett fan. To see him kind of like neutered at that point was just like, come on, really? Why? Like, why did you do that? You know what I mean? There was so much potential, and I think there still is more potential. Like, they can right the wrong if they do it, if they write the character the way we want to see him. But then again, it's like, can they go back and make those changes? I don't know. Anything?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to add in, like other things I want to see. And I don't want the Obi series to be finished yet. I still want to see more Obi-Wan.
Yeah, so. Yeah. That's what we want. I think that's what we all want, is more Obi-Wan. And hopefully we get it in some capacity. But if they ended here, I mean, I was not, certain things it was questionable, but the journey between him and Vader, I was definitely not disappointed in at all. And I think that for that character, I did see not closure, but the beginning that we needed to see of his journey. You know what I mean? As far as Obi-Wan, and me myself, like I said, like I love Leia's character. I love the young Leia's character. I thought she was bright. She was awesome. Give me a hot toy, I'll take it and pull, like give it a 2-pack between both of them, and I'll pose them up because I just like the chemistry between them. I like that, me being a father, and having 2 daughters, you know what I mean? That, just seeing that between both, it just made me feel so much better. I felt so good about that. It just warmed my heart to see it. And the scene that choked me up is when she asked, was he her father? I was like, twinkle, 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 twinkle. So I was like, yeah. But all in all, great show. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Everybody out there who stuck with us from the very beginning. Yeah, we are like 2 hours, almost 3 hours in, but it was a lot to unpack. But yeah, real quick, going around the round table, man. Useby, what's going on with you, brother?
Yeah, so we got Bricks and Brews this weekend, I believe, on Sunday, and then just Road to 2000. So just join streaming with y'all, and looking forward when Andor comes and talking about that too. So thanks for having me, and
let's
can't
go.
wait.
Let's go. Cannot wait for that. Definitely, man. And see you next week so we can talk some more shit and you can enable me, motherfucker. What do you got going on over there on your side of the world, and what can we expect from your shows this week?
Well, tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, I'll be on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom and Andre. Of course, Lael, you and I will be streaming either Friday or Saturday night on the Post Geek Singularity with Robert Meyer Burnett on Midnight Musings. On Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me on my channel, Positive Fandom. It's streaming on YouTube and Twitch at the same time for my Sunday brunch show where we do all the parlay and the fandom. So you guys can stop by, promote your channel, say hello. Yes. And on Sunday. On Monday nights, you can find me on Toxic Femininity show I do at 8 p.m. Eastern with Lorena Creel and Nina Infinity. Sometimes during the week, you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network. I can't speak now. Either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels, like tonight.
Definitely.
And on Thursdays at 5 p.m., you can also find me on my other show, Toxic Male Appreciation, which I do with Lorena Creel. So do please check out Positive Fandom, and that's where you'll find me.
Definitely, man. As always, so good to have you on this channel. Always a ray of sunshine.
It's a pleasure to be here, Leo.
Definitely. So good to have you. Next up, and we got through an entire show, and she really didn't flex. That's incredible.
Well, I did send you a picture of something I bought.
And you did. You flexed. And that's why I was like, holy shit. Like, it was incredible. But I didn't want to show it because I didn't know if we had permission to show it, but it was a flex. So
you could show. So the two I sent you tonight, you can show both of those.
Oh, so we didn't get. Okay, cool. We didn't get away from the show.
If you want, yeah.
They don't whip on one.
And then while you're pulling that up, so I'm on Rogue 1/6, and every other Friday, so not this Friday, but next Friday, we do group therapy where we talk about all the expensive Star Wars shit we buy and collect. And then I do a print show every other Tuesday. So that's kind of been derailed because of Kenobi, because I need sleep occasionally, because we were watching those live and like reacting to them and staying up and talking about it afterwards. But the print show is every other Tuesday. So it won't be this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that will be Hoth Off the Press, which is the print show. So this is the art print I bought because the timing seemed right. It was on my radar. It was on my list for a very long time. It came out in 2016 and they did 100 of them. It's a screen print by an artist called Raid 71, or Chris Thornley is his actual name. But it felt, even though it's Alec Guinness, it felt very appropriate given the episode. And I am really thrilled to be putting this in my office at work. And I have a theme going where they said I'm able to put art prints in my office. I'm making sure that they're all red, white, and blue. So if they say that it's too much, I'm just going to say that they're unpatriotic. And we'll see if that works. And then otherwise, I'm occasionally on collecting weekly, like After Dark on Wednesday nights, perhaps. But Rogue 1/6 will definitely be back watching the series live when Andor starts releasing as well, if you want to check us out over there. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with the art print show. I feel like I get into kind of lulls where I don't talk about prints or buy prints. So it's been a minute, but I'm happy to be back in the swing of things. This is another one.
Is this actually happening?
No.
Did they actually do this one? No?
I asked him. So this is the artist is called Dolly. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's Doaly. If you like anything that's in the superhero genre, you've seen his work, presumably. But go ahead and give him a Google if you've never heard of him before. I don't have too many prints by him, but he comes up with some like bangers. And this, in my opinion, was one of them. So I did ask him today when he posted this if he thought that they would print it, and he said doubtful. But he's the only artist so far that I've seen put out Kenobi work that's previously been licensed by Disney. So I'm not totally, my hopes are not completely dashed. I wonder if maybe they would make this available in the future. He was working on this when we had teaser trailers. He was like really on the ball with it. And of course he does have that relationship with Disney because he's put out a lot of Marvel and Star Wars before. So
yeah,
fingers crossed. Though
same, I'd be all over this one.
Matt
I
over
need
at Rogue
this.
One,
I need this.
yeah,
this is incredible, bro.
and he did this one with just the regular Obi-Wan Kenobi logo on the bottom. He did another one that says like "You cannot escape him," like Reva's line, and he did another one with the Kenobi logo, but it was in Japanese. And I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Oh, there were
That being
multiples? I thought there
said,
was only that one.
Anyone who watches Rogue One 6 and like my, co-partners in crime over there, Matt said that the sand dunes to him looked a little anatomical, like a female anatomy. Do I need to say anything else? And
I just see Vader's.
I see Vader's. That's what I'm
see
saying. I see Vader's face.
Man.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's like a Georgia O'Keeffe thing where it's like, is it a flower or is it something else?
That's dope.
I think this is amazing. I'd love to own it. I hope to print it. I'll certainly keep everyone posted if I hear anything else about it. But I thought this was fantastic.
This is so dope. Like,
This is it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the other one where he just put the "you can't escape him."
Yeah,
that's crazy. Well, get your flex on as always. CC just had it. I told you it was going to be a flex tonight somehow. You didn't disappoint, so you did let me know there's going to be a flex like that. Again, CC3PO Rogue One 6 on YouTube and IG. CC, thank you for being here always. It's always a pleasure, and just coming through with some flexes. It wouldn't be you if you didn't. So glad to have you here. Mario Epifizotto, bro. What's going on, man? What you got going on, man?
So tomorrow night I'll be over with Graham over the Jedi Knights Watch. We'll be discussing Obi-Wan again. So I'll be on a panel with I think Joao, Big Bretta, and I think Fab's Figures too will be joining us.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun discussion. Yeah, man. And we're back on my channel in a couple of weeks talking something. We'll figure out. We got to figure out what we're going to talk about for the next Uncivilized.
How about Taika Waititi, bro? Like, do we think his film's going to be? Because I'm scared. I'm not going to lie. I'm scared because
really
the reason why I'm scared is because even seeing like some of the trailers and stuff for Love and Thunder, I'm just like, bro, the humor aspect, bro, if it's too much, I'm just like, I can't do it.
Jojo Rabbit, dude, you'll be all right.
Jojo Rabbit was dope. I love Jojo Rabbit.
You're all right.
And Ragnarok, I came around and I love that. I hope that I get that same thing for this film, bro. I do, because I just don't want it to be overly funny. I don't want them to take what they did from Ragnarok and try to amplify it and it just goes to the left. You know what I mean? So
I don't think so.
I'm hoping.
I think it'll be fairly balanced.
I have faith based off of what he said. Everything he said, that's what I'm running with. So we'll see.
Yeah, real quick, I want to say to the chat. Yeah, I think most of us saw that Thor already.
Yep.
But we're talking Star Wars, man. We can't be distracted with that. But I appreciate the heads up, though, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. They said I actually shared it. It kind of looks, to be quite honest, it looks like the a mix between the Ragnarok version in the very beginning and Thor 2 in a sense, sort of. Well, you if you see it, like, it just kind of looks like in comparison, but we'll get there anyways. This is about Star Wars. Again, Elvin Fisoto, bro, thank you for being here. As always, man. This is a great discussion, great talks today. If you haven't already become a member of the 16 Scale Man YouTube channel, make sure you actually do. Great content over here. Tomorrow we actually have Figure Flex Friday. followed by Sunday, which is the Collectors Lounge International. Then Comic Book Talk with Friends on Monday, followed by Say What on Wednesday, and then again on Morrow's channel. When are we going to go back to every other week? Or
yes,
we'll go back to every other week. So,
yeah.
exactly. So the show's over until Andor, until we get more consistent with that, which I cannot fucking wait for that show. I'm telling you that right now. It's going to be a sleeper. It's going to be dope. I cannot wait. And no, Sean, you are not enabling me on shit. So yeah, I can't wait.
I'd like to see you try.
Force is strong with this one.
You ain't do the twinkle nose like you did yesterday, brother.
I don't have to. That's how sure I am of it, bro.
Yo.
He's like, yo. He said, yeah, motherfucker, I got you. But yeah, man. Thanks everybody for being here. Everybody out in the chat for sticking with us the entire time. Again, we will see you guys again. We love y'all. Thank you for being as positive. There was a few bad. There was one little like troll in there, but I'll let you slide, brother. But anyway, man, thanks everybody for coming through as always. We enjoy y'all. We love y'all. And until the next show, as always, stay uncivilized. Peace.
So uncivilized.